an opportunity to kind of shake things up out of our normal. And when people sort of drop their barriers and take a look at things honestly and really do what they want to be doing, not what they think they should be doing or what they've, without even realizing it, innocently been taught to think they should be doing, really magical things start to happen in the world. And I think Dejan is a beautiful example of that. Should I grab him?
Yeah.
So then after Dejan, we will have such an intimate experience I'm about to have with all of you. Just watch. Things are going to get real quiet. Ah, the sound of a baby.
And Renata,
feeding.
yes, you are muted, so we can't hear anything.
Okay.
So Mason got it. Okay,
So
perfect.
are we sorted on?
Yep, we're low now.
Okay. So the next guest after Dejan who will be joining us is my beautiful brother, Max. And when I saw that he registered to attend this, I was like, oh, that's cool. Max is going to come. And then I had the thought, oh, it'd be amazing if he would speak, but I'm sure he wouldn't want to. And along those lines of I was saying of kind of getting more honest and not letting your thinking or your habits of thought override your inspiration, I thought, well, I don't know what Max would say, so I should just ask him anyway. And so, of course, I asked him with the preface of, I'm sure you're not going to want to, and you don't have to, and don't feel obligated. But when I chatted with him yesterday and he said he was coming, and I said, yeah, I had the crazy idea that it would be really amazing if you would speak. And he immediately said, sure. I was like, really? So I'm really excited that he's offered to be a participant and join us today, because I think Max has kind of had a PhD immersion course in finding resilience in the unknown after losing his family back in the end of October. So I won't go into a lot of detail. I'll let kind of him share what he wants to share, but I was particularly interested both in the fact that Max has continued living his life so gracefully amidst such an unknown. Like, I know that people are really struggling with how much coronavirus has disrupted their normal, but I can assure you that Max Gleason had a head start about 4 months ahead of everyone when his normal was disrupted so extremely. And he's just dealt with it in a really beautiful, inspiring, and all range of human emotions way. But I was also really interested in how he has continued to create a lot. So he's a painter. He's been painting every day. He's been writing every day. So another one of the things we are going to explore with Dejan, with Max, with Anna and Crystal and Patrick, who are all joining us today, is how you'll notice a common thread that when people leave their minds open to the unknown, they continue to move and they continue to create. And I think there's something just really inspiring about hearing from people who are moving and creating in times of great unknown. And Max is just the single greatest example I know of that in my life currently. And then we will take a short break because it's 4 hours. So we'll give people, for those of you who are sticking around for the whole 4 hours, which I know some people will probably come in and out, but some people are really excited to have 4 hours of something cool to do today. So we will give like a bathroom break, a go grab a glass of water kind of thing right around in the middle, halfway through. And then when we come back after the break, we're going to be joined by Patrick and Crystal, which is really exciting. We've been wanting to do something with them together for a while. Patrick is one of the Rebels for Peace as well, with Dejan. So he is a young man here in Chicago who's also become very inspired to.
It's an artist.
Yeah, he's an incredible musical artist. Are we going to get a live?
Yeah, we might.
I
Yeah.
think
We
I think
might
we
get
talked
little
him into doing a
performance.
live performance. He
Yeah,
makes
no pressure, Patrick.
incredible raps. So he is a creative genius. He's a beautiful human being, and he's definitely an example of a young man who has really made some beautiful decisions inside his own mind to make something of his life and has really stayed committed to that and is working hard to learn what he needs to learn, do what he needs to do, and stay clear and focused in his head and not get sidetracked. I mean, I think all of us can relate to the fact that in life in general, but especially when things feel very out of your control, it's easy to get sidetracked or get discouraged. And he's a really beautiful example of someone who has really learned how not to do that and how to keep creating and moving and finding what needs to be next for him in life. And Crystal is his mom. And
Mhm.
they're
Awesome
beautiful.
mom.
Oh my God. I said, I wish she was everyone's mother. She's a perfect example of someone who, in the face of adversity, she sees how to turn that into something positive. She actually sent me, I'm going to read her quote. Um, that she sent me yesterday after we had a little debrief chat about what she's going to share in her segment today. And she said, changing everyday thoughts of disparity into lifelong thoughts of human prosperity. And I see Crystal doing that every day and how she shows up as a human and a single mom and a beautiful mom at that. And so she's going to share some stories of lots of things that have happened to her in her life where you could easily see the option to get stuck feeling like it's just too much, like life is throwing you too many challenges, or it's just the way things are. And what I love about Crystal is she's a constant disruptor of the way things are. She steps in and says, no, 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 no. It doesn't have to be this way. I know there's something better on offer. There's something better on offer for my kids. There's something better on offer for me. And she goes and does it. So that's why I love having her. And I'm excited for her and Patrick to share together about how much their relationship has evolved as they've learned about their own resilience and incorporated that into their lives as a mother and son.
Hmm.
They can say a lot about how to stay sane living in the same house in the times of coronavirus. She texted me yesterday. Chicago just announced school is out for the rest of the year. Oh Lord, I need a drink. She's got a great sense of humor too. So looking
Yeah.
forward to having both of them.
Yeah. Andrea asked if you leave during the break, there will be a chance that you won't get in. Yeah. So you can just stay on if you want to keep your. It's only going to be a 10-minute break, so you can just keep it on, and we'll continue right after.
And you're muted and your camera's off, so don't worry.
Yeah.
You can
You can be naked now. We wouldn't
Yeah,
know.
you can do your naked dances. You can go to the bathroom with the laptop. Has
I'm.
anyone seen that that thing that goes around online about the woman who did that on Zoom and didn't know? She took she took her laptop to the bathroom with her and was on like a business meeting. It's hysterical. You should look it up. There's a lot of fun stuff happening online right now.
Right.
And then the final guest will be joined by Anna Debenham, who's one of our partners with a collective that we formed called the IOS Collective. And we formed that with the Spark Initiative in Florida and Inside Alliance in Oregon, which Anna is the founder and director of. And they do work with young people in education and prisons, and Anna works with young people and adults in prisons. So schools, jails, and we started this collective because we could see a potential to really make more impact in the world. If you look at, where people are learning and then where people are getting stuck, schools and communities and prisons, they're all interconnected in the web of society. And if we can make an impact in all of these areas, we really feel like we can start to see hopefully something of a sea change or a more noticeable paradigm shift in the overall wellness and resilience of humanity. So we really love the work that we do in collaboration with them. We've been able to do some really cool exchanges between people they work with, the people we work with here. And Anna is going to talk to us specifically today about how she's had to adapt her work in the prisons since obviously she can no longer physically go into the prisons because of coronavirus. So um, she's had some really cool ideas about how to continue helping people in spite of limitations, which is
All right. He wants the other side now, so I'll talk a little bit.
getting very graphic. There's two sides to this.
And the reason why we wanted to have different guests from different backgrounds is that we want to take this opportunity with Corona to see that Corona isn't really anything different than every other thing humanity and probably you as a person have gone through, that it seems like a different thing because it seems serious and it involves everyone. But
It is serious.
no, I'm not saying it's not serious, but I'm saying the human reactions that we all are having while that is going on has always been happening. And if we can learn something as a human, we'll get help during that time, whatever it is. So hopefully, we want you to kind of forget about Corona for these 3.5 hours and just look like what is the unifying factor of all of us. And the best way to do that is just to hear stories, hear examples, have conversations, and hopefully our shoulders are a little bit lower and we feel like more of the same. Because, on the topic of resilience and the topic of what we're going to be showing and being in the unknown, like for a long time, I thought that was something that was for a few people and it was something you had to learn. It was something very complicated. But the more I lived and I matured as a person, but also learned certain things, I saw that no, it's not like that. Like we're born in that way. And if you really look for it, you'll see that people have been in completely unknown territory and completely situations where there is no right way. It hasn't been done before. There's no answers that has ever been on the outside. There's no answer that has ever occurred to you. It's completely fresh and invisible what to do. But the cool thing is every time that happens, something occurs, like something occurs for someone that makes it known, that it becomes an idea, it becomes a new action, it becomes a new innovation, it becomes just the next step, and then humans figure something out. So I'm excited to hear from people because you'll see proof of that, and you'll get to experience like how true that is. And if it's true for the people you're going to be hearing from, it's also true for you. It's true for everyone. So hopefully you'll feel like part of the human race and part of the world as a whole, and feel calmer when there's nothing to be calm about. you know?
No, but it's a really cool example. If you'll notice, like if you spent the next 4 hours reading every scary article full of data or watching the news about protests and all the terrible things going on in the world, it's not that those things aren't happening, but you'd notice that you could spend an enormous amount of time getting like like your shoulders tighter up around your neck. You could get more and more tense about the situation. And what's fascinating about the human mind is you'll see invariably, this is true before coronavirus, but it's especially true now, is that your mind dictates what you're capable of. So if you get really tensed and worried and overwhelmed about the future, which is not happening currently, the only thing that's happening is right now, then your mind will make it look daunting and impossible. And you'll go about your day and find that things feel hard. Just being a human in your own home feels harder when your head gets contracted like that. When you start to feel overwhelmed by all of the what ifs and all of the horribleness, and your mind can't see anything outside of that. The mind is like a flashlight, it beams in on whatever it's thinking about. So if you're thinking about how scary and awful it is, that's all that your mind can pick up on, and it'll just see more evidence of that, and it won't be able to see anything outside of that. Whereas on the flip side, we're hoping, like I said, I want to think of this as a celebration of resilience and a hangout. A hangout meaning feeling connected to people, right? You're not isolated, you're not alone. And a celebration of resilience is really looking at what is also true, what is also happening is that humans have this responsive capacity that Adik's talking about, that we do ultimately figure things out in the moment. We do know how to put one foot in front of the other. We do rise to the occasion. And all of the speakers are going to be sharing about that in their different ways. So at the end of 4 hours of hanging out in that space, shining your mental flashlight in that direction, you'll notice that you feel differently and you can do differently. Right, Teo? Because you can only do
He's like, here.
consistent with what your mind sees. So you'll notice that you'll interact with your family differently. You'll have different ideas about what you want to do today, or maybe what you want to do next week. You might even get an idea about how you need to shift your work in order to be um, sustainable in this time or thriving in this time, or you might invent something in this time. Like we were watching the current wars last night about kind of the race between Edison and Westinghouse with the invention of electricity and how that was going to spread across the US. It's so interesting. It's such a good moment of perspective. It's like people invented and are still inventing amazing things, but people invented incredible things back when there was so little available to them, you
Mhm.
know, and we feel restricted right now, but it's only because we're so used to having had so much access, such easy, effortless access to things
Mhm.
all the time. But the truth is, I mean, and there are going to be people who invent incredible things even during this time. So that's why we feel like getting together, hanging out, helping people feel connected to each other, helping people experience a celebration of human resilience and what's incredible about human beings not only can affect the rest of your day because it'll just feel nicer, but it literally might change the course of what you do today or the course of what you might do next week or in your life, because suddenly the mind is more open and sees things to do, ideas of different action to take. And it sounds overly simple, but that's life. Is you're either your flashlight's going in this tiny little hole and goes, oh, this is the only thing going on, or your light's broadening and expanding and it's going, well, what are all these other things I could be seeing, thinking, doing, feeling? And then that's where you go. It's like your mind goes and your life follows. So that's why I wrote in my thing, like, I think this will be really fun and dare I say at moments mind blowing. Probably not all of them, but I think there's potential. And that's why we wanted to offer this. It's like, hey, we're all sitting around, us two, you two. Let's do something awesome with it. Why not?
Yeah, like the cool thing that I've experienced, that when we have absolutely every opportunity and everything's known and everything's laid out for us, there's a actually a very there's a lack of creativity and lack
Mhm.
of creation that happens because
Convenience keeps
there's
us.
there's too much there. It's already there. It's everything's already here. So actually it inhibits creativity when everything's already here, when everything already is known, which is why when you take something away or you limit a certain situation, there's this like burst of creativity and innovation that happens. Like that's, if you look at innovation, it's like something that isn't been possible and you found a way to do it.
Mhm.
And so if you're a basketball player and you use both hands and somebody says, hey, sorry, you can only use your left hand now, what happens is that that person will find completely new ways to move. His game will completely change because he can now only do it one hand. So, or if you're trying to create something, but you can only do it in this specific way, actually what happens is like then real creativity comes out because it isn't there. And if it isn't there, your mind goes, if it isn't there, I'm going to create it. I'm going to make it up.
Mhm.
I'm going to put it
Mhm.
into the world. But if everything's there, everything's just given and you just receive, um, then there's no reason for your mind to do anything because it's already there. It goes like, okay, I'm good. I'm good.
Mhm.
I'm good. There's no need for that type of creativity.
And we've always thought of our work as being, we offer things like webinars online, but mostly we've done in-person stuff. But we thought we don't want to do another webinar. That feels been there, done that. Want to do something different that feels more exciting. It feels like it has a richer. Not that there's anything wrong with webinars, and we'll probably do more of those too. But like, this was just new, and like I know for those of you who haven't seen, I'm sure a lot of you have. There's that DJ D Nice. He's a DJ that normally is playing music in clubs, and he just decided a couple weeks ago, well, like obviously I'm not going to clubs anymore, so I'm just going to start DJing by myself in my kitchen from my home, and it's turned into this massive thing where hundreds of thousands of people show up every night, and he does the longest sets. He plays for like 8 hours. And that's what I love, is not that that a DJ had an idea to keep DJing, but it's like he gets so into it. He just keeps playing and playing and playing. And people ask him, they're like, "Don't you sleep? Don't you get tired?" He's like, "I'm getting so much energy from this."
Right. I prefer this over the real things.
Well,
And
nobody was like, I didn't think I would. Like, I thought being by myself, like just, listening to
right.
music, but he's doing shout outs to everybody that comes on. And now, like, every famous person is going on. He's like, "What up? We got Michelle Obama in the house." And literally, and it's been really cool to just drop into those. And he just finds he's getting so much energy out of it. But it's just such a brilliant example of, like, take away a person's hand, they figure out how to play with the other hand. It's like, take away the club. This guy figured out how to
Right.
bring the club to him, and it
Right.
had just as much life. Like, there's no, and if anything, like, it's even more exciting. Like, I just think that's so intriguing, because if you apply that to, like, everything we're up to every day, it's like, oh yeah, the only reason any of this can feel like restricted or ho hum or annoying is because my mind hasn't gotten creative about how to change it, because I'm just used to it having been a different way.
Mm. And you'll see in the examples when it, you know, you might go, well, what about when something very serious happens? And the thing is that the concept is
Right.
it's still true. It's just you have to deal with something very real and emotional and human, and it's hard to see it, but it's still true.
It's the same potential of the
The same
mind.
potential is always there, and something new can be created. And sometimes it's hard if something was taken away that's extremely painful or hard, like that's totally how it is, but the potential is still there for new life to come in a way, and new energy and new flow, whatever it might be. And it might just be an energy, it might just be a feeling, it might be an idea, it can be so many things. But knowing that that is always true is really helpful for anyone, that like that's like built into me, like that's set. If something taken away, or something disappears, or a limitation is on me, it's within all humans that something new can be birthed, that there'll be a rebirth or something. But it might not look the way we think it's going to look. It might not look like the way it looked before. So I think who's ever been in a situation that's completely unknown, or they have some limitation put on them, they've seen that, oh, okay, something new does come up always. And the only way we suffer is when it doesn't necessarily look like we want it to look or how it looked before. But the new, the fresh, is waiting inside. Like, here's the freshness. It's like right behind the old. Like, here's something new for you.
And I just want to clarify that can people see this?
I don't think so. No.
We have the baby monitor here in case you need to see it. Not needed anymore. Um, I just want to say one more thing, and then we can jump into our first guest, is that I don't want people to confuse what we're saying with it, like, oh, okay, so if my mind should be doing amazing things right now,
Yeah.
and I should be inventing new forms of electricity or DJing a club in my house, like it
Right.
doesn't have to be doing something.
Right. At all.
It's a feeling. It's a feeling of freedom.
Hmm.
And discovering that the feeling of freedom never came from the outside and is never going to, and that this is just an opportunity for us to experiment with that, learn from that, discover more about that. Because I know for me, um, we had our own sort of weird sheltering inside going on before coronavirus hit, because of what happened with our family and having lost 3 family members, and the grieving process felt like a quarantine of its own. Like, we needed to just sit still and be quiet with each other and love each other, and we didn't want to be out doing a lot of things. And I was really okay with that and found it really beautiful. I also had a newborn, um, for the time being. And then when coronavirus happened and people were like, oh, yeah, you can't leave your house, you got to stay. I was like, no, we've already been doing
Right.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to get out of the house.
Right. I was excited to start kind of getting back in the flow of like our work, for example, because we had really put One Solution, our nonprofit, on hold for the last few months of the year because it felt like the right thing to do given what we were dealing with as a family. And it was really interesting to me. I was like, okay, so just when I thought we were going to like pick up and start being more active and doing more work again, now I'm, in a way being told by the universe, no, go back to your room. You're not done yet. I was like, excuse me.
Yeah.
And so I had to get reflective about that. It was like, truth be told, there was some sort of like nervous habitual part of me that was like, okay, get back to it, Mara, go back to work, do your thing, and figure out how you're gonna, fundraise for the year, because you didn't do that at the end of the year like you normally do. And just kind of wanting to jump back into a pace or a habit of doing. And I'm actually really grateful that Mara, I'm not grateful for all of the scary parts of coronavirus, but that Mara had to sit in that space longer, the not doing, the reflecting, the being still, because it's really taught me a whole other level of okayness with that. And it's shown me that I will figure it out, because it scared me at first. I was like, what, we can't be shut down. We've already been shut down. What are you talking about? Like, what's going to happen? And he knows I like a small period of kind of freak out. It also coincided with him not sleeping well, so I think I might have.
Teo, not me. I sleep like a
sleeps
baby.
amazing.
Not this baby, but babies who sleep well.
Baby like Teo now.
Yeah.
Yes, Teo does sleep well now. So I only share that because I know for me, I had to exist in an extended state of not doing so much and reflecting. I wasn't having DJ parties in my kitchen. I wasn't really working, and it was really, thank you, Teo. It was really helpful for me to do that longer than was comfortable, because I like what I'm seeing now about what I do want to be doing next. And I think it's clear, and I think it's different than if I had just jumped right back in come January 12th or whatever day we were trying to like start back up again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you're just feeling like your resilience, your clarity is pointing you in the direction of being still, then more power to you. That's your innovation and realization right now, is that stillness is powerful too.
Right.
Okay.
Should we bring on the first guest? Yeah, it's like,
my husband really wants me to sound good. He also doesn't really want you to see my face.
no, I do. You got a good face.
Okay.
You're a little Stevie Wonder sometimes. I'm not gonna lie about the mic. Like this.
Oh. Like,
you're like, what? No, just move your head. All right, let's see if we can find Dejan on here. Maybe, I hope he's not blocked. No, he's not. All right.
There he is. Good
All
job,
right,
Dejan.
Put
Welcome
on your
to the
clothes.
hangout. Yeah, we're turning on your camera.
Okay.
Warning.
Okay. Dejan, you there?
Yeah.
All right, we gotta put on these now.
Okay.
But it says that the host disabled my video. So y'all don't want to see me or something? Like, what's going on?
No, Anik has this thing today where like he doesn't want to see anyone but Teo.
So, and your video is on, Dejan?
Yes.
Huh. Let's see. That's strange. You sure your video is on?
It said you cannot start your video because the host has disabled it.
All right, I'm gonna try to make you a co-host. See if that helps. Can you turn it on now?
Yeah.
Can you try?
Got it, man. There we go. I'm on.
Okay.
In the car with the mask.
You got the mask on. There we go. Put the mask down. There we go.
If you're the only one in the car, you can probably take the mask off.
This a creative mask. This is a creative mask right here.
Right.
Does it give you special powers?
You feel? I got a little muscle now, you know.
Okay.
Well,
Well, yeah. Oh, I was gonna. There's so many things that I think you can speak to, Dejan, but you know, part of the what we're talking about is the situation we are in right now with, Corona and everything. But if you look beyond that, can you share a little bit, like for the people who don't know you? I know a lot of people do know you, but a little about you, what you're about, and maybe into some of the situations you've been into where you've seen what we're talking about in terms of the mind finding new ideas or overcoming challenges that you've been through.
Okay, so what you want me to start with?
Tell people about yourself a little bit first.
All right, my name
I was
my
going to
name
say
is
this is
Dejan.
a lot of new people, so definitely introduce yourself and
Pretend
your
like
background.
nobody
Pretend like
knows
no
you.
one's ever heard you.
All right, my name is Dejan White. I was born and raised in the city of Chicago, South Side. I lived in Arbor Gresham, Roseland, Inglewood. I lived on the west side. No, not the west side, over east. I lived in a lot of different areas because we moved a lot. I'm a basketball player. I'm real good at ball. I haven't played in a while though, but I'm good at basketball. I like pancakes. I'm a real chill person, man. But I grew up rough. I ain't grew up rough like a lot of these other people grew up rough, but I ain't had the silver spoon. You feel me? So in my past, I did a lot of negative things that I wasn't like proud of, but I can right my wrongs now because I'm still here. I'm still living. I ain't behind bars or nothing like that. I can still right my wrongs. So that's what I'm trying to do now. Um, can I just go into to Rebels for a piece?
Sure, yeah, if you want.
And basically that's why I started the Rebels piece. To piggyback upon what Mara said earlier, just to show people that they can change from the inside on out. Showing them that they got the power that's inside them to change their whole perspectives upon life, change the way that they view life, change the way that they go about different situations in a way, and just basically showing them that they got that second option. Because that's not what I had. I ain't really knew I had that second option when I was growing up. I just thought since I was in Chicago, I was around gang banging, I was around this and that, that this was my only way out. This was the route I was supposed to take. But learning about my mind and strengthening it made me made me generate different options or create different options in a way because I ain't see those options back then. Now I see different options. Now I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to go here and go there. But those options wasn't realistic in my head when I was growing up until I learned about my mind. And that's basically what I want to show other people. Like, you don't gotta live the life that you was given. You can choose your own life. You feel me? You can change your path anytime you want to, no matter where you at, who you with, what area you in, town, city, any of that. You feel me? You can change your life just instantly. It's just instant. And that's the beauty of it, knowing you got that power, knowing you got that resilience, like knowing you got that mindset to change your life just uplifts me more because I feel like everybody should live the life that they want to live. Should nobody be walking around with their head down, head low, stormy clouds. You feel me? It's good to have those stormy clouds, but it's like you should live your life the way you want to live your life. You deserve to be happy. You feel me? So yeah, that's just it. Just giving people that second option, showing them how they can change from the inside on out, and just living life, getting out of that survival mode and actually start to living.
I love listening to you.
Why you
Can you?
making me blush?
Oh, I love you so much,
I
Dejan.
love you, Dejan.
Can you can you share like maybe an example or a recent where like you maybe it's related to a situation you've been in or what's going on right now where you had that feeling of like I don't know what's going on, I don't know what to do, or like
I
and
actually have one I thought of. Can I ask him to talk about it?
okay,
Sorry, sorry.
no,
Get them off. No, because I thought of this yesterday when I was having a conversation with Barb, one of my friends and colleagues, about that story you told about um, going to the I don't know if it was like the gas station or the convenience store, and you ran into some people from another neighborhood, and typically that would mean a certain thing in your head, like people from another neighborhood, and they kind of came up to you with an aggressive attitude and said something, and kind of like your prior thinking was very limited in terms of how you would have had to deal with that interaction. But in that moment, because of, like you said, you would kind of strengthen your mind, and you'd seen this potential to have a different response. You had a different response. Thank you, Taya. You guys are just gonna have to kind of go with that for this whole thing. He does nap at some point later in this,
Yeah,
but
she's having a hard time hearing. Just do it a little bit.
so I'd love if you could share that story. And I know you have a beautiful kind of realization that you had about enemies that kind of made that the outcome of that different for you. So could you share that?
Yeah. Basically it's like basically you just shared it, you feel me? It's like I go up into like, cause I got a corner store right here. So it's like I can go up into the store, and it's a chance I can see people that I was once in tour with, or I can see people that that want to try to like that want to try and hurt me, you feel me? But it's like, in my mindset, I used to think that it was instant. I used to think people would just instantly do it, you know? But how I seen was like, if my mind is calm and I'm chill, sometimes the opposite side gonna be chills. It's not really opposite side, but it's like, once I be chill, once my mind chill down, and like on return aggressive, or on return like I'm trying to get on that with that person, they become more chiller in a way. You feel me? Because it's like, once they don't feel threatened, they mind tone down. So it's like, how can I explain it? It's like that's the resilient part. Cause back then I would have thought I need to fight them, or I need to try to harm them before they try and harm me. But now I can just ease through the situation without causing a problem in a way. Cause if I instantly think off back like they own that, they're going to be on that. We're going to get into it. But if I come to my own, my like if I chill my own mind down and just think like, maybe they just going into the store, maybe they not on that, I can get my stuff and then leave. Cause it's like, back then I was all ready for the fight, I was ready for the brawls and everything. But now I see it's just pointless, you know, because it don't get you nowhere. It don't get you nowhere but more enemies, more problems, more this and that. So once you find that peace within yourself, I don't gotta be out here looking for trouble. I don't gotta be out here going to trouble, searching for trouble. I can just be me and just stay chill. Enemies might chill down too. But same point of time, you also gotta be on the cautious side too, because like sometimes people won't chill out, and you gotta do what you gotta do, but you always gotta realize you still got that other option of being peaceful. It's all about options. You can either choose this option, or you can either choose that option. And with the strength of my mindset, I can always choose my peace option. I can always go up on this side, but it's still that negative option right there. But with the strength of your mindset, you can always choose to go up on this side instead of just staying up on this one little lane in the way. I can't.
No,
Um,
what about, and now, in terms of being with Corona, I know you mentioned like how it is being with your family. You have a lot of people in the same household. Like how's it been dealing with that? And if you want, you don't have to want to share about some of the recent stuff that I know has happened. You don't have to go in detail, but I know it's just really powerful how, when you talk about how you're going through that process.
Going through the coronavirus process is, I wouldn't say I got it the hardest, but I ain't got it the easiest. Cause it's like, it's a level of seriousness where people take it. And it's like, I'm worried about my life, you feel me? But at the same time, I'm not letting the fear take over my mind. So I'm going with it day by day. That's why I wear this mask 24/7, just cover up, I do that 24/7 so I can keep myself safe. But it's like what Eric said earlier, real life doesn't stop happening, Even though the virus is here, real life doesn't stop happening. And I had an app, like an app opener for that because I got a cousin, he went to jail. He almost got convicted with first degree murder, and I just lost one of my homies to suicide. And it's like things just pile on pile on pile on pile on pile. You feel me? You can't stop it just because the virus going on. Life doesn't stop. You feel me? It doesn't stop. So you gotta learn how to maneuver through different situations. You feel me? Because when I was in that mindset, it was like I was hurt. You feel me? I just lost my homie. Then my right hand man just went to jail. So it's like, damn. And then a virus it was just too much to handle. But once you got that insight that I got, it's like you got the power to go through that. You gonna feel that hurt, but it's like you don't gotta put that hurt into no negative action in a way. 'Cause I felt my hurt. Yeah, I shed the tears. I sat back, but I ain't act upon those actions because I wanted to go do this and do that and do that in my old mindset. But now I got this new one. It's like I can survive through it. You feel me? It's like I'm still hurt up on the inside, but I can still survive through it. I still got the motion. I still got my like peace of mind. I can make it through. I can still see the light at the end of the tunnel in a way. Even though it may be a long tunnel, it's just powerful that you can still see the light in a way. Because it's like nobody knows when the virus is going to end. So it's just so like the virus is the long black tunnel. You don't know when it's going to end, but you can still see the light. So it's like it's just powerful. Like in crisis, like real life doesn't stop. But if you can still see the light, you can still find your peace from the inside on out instead of going out looking for peace. Because if you going out looking for peace, you're not gonna find the right peace that you need. The peace that you really need is from the inside. And once you see that, you can change perspectives. You can do this and do that, and then maneuver how you want to maneuver because you see the insight that we see. Yeah.
All right, then the
That
webinar is
was
over now. We can go
awesome.
home.
Dejan, I just had an amazing idea. Have you ever heard of the show Driving in Cars with Comedians? I think we've got like getting your inner peace in the car with Dejan. That's your
Yeah.
show. We're giving you a show. Did we lose him? Are you still
Can you
there?
hear us?
I'm still.
Okay, okay.
You didn't like my idea?
Oh, my daddy called me, so I just.
Okay,
I
okay.
was gonna say it's like I got your next big gig. We'll talk about it
We'll talk
later,
about
but
it.
you're gonna become
Yeah.
a famous YouTube car star.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in the car 24/7, so it's like we can go ahead and start shooting right now. I'm already.
A great example of getting creative in tough times.
Yeah.
Getting creative in tough times, man.
Before we continue, is there anyone who has a question for Dejan or about what we're talking about or want him share more about in particular? Please write it. If you're on Zoom, write it there. If you're on Facebook, we'll see if we can get it on Facebook.
Yeah, if you're in Zoom, write it in the chat. And
And I'm an open book too, so you feel me?
Yes.
Y'all will need some knowledge. I'm gonna come ahead and give y'all something spicy,
I
Okay.
love it.
Okay.
I've started saying spicy a lot more since hanging out with
Yeah.
you. I don't remember what it was the other day it happened, and I was
This
like,
cup of
whoa,
tea
that
is
was
spicy.
spicy. He's in his favorite chair.
All right, we got a couple of questions in already.
Just so people know, that is not crying. That is Teo
He's just a
expressing
loud
himself.
noise, yeah.
He's learning to make noises now, so I don't want to seem like a neglectful parent up
Okay.
here.
Okay. Dejan is a star. He's an amazing energy, great spicy.
Great spicy.
Okay, we got two kind of similar one. One asked what was the aha moment, and then another one asked Dejan, what was your first big insight? And
My first big insight was when I found out that I ain't have to put my thoughts into place. That was my first big insight. No. I think my first big insight was that I can change my life.
Mm.
That was my first big insight. But changing my life was that I didn't have to put my thoughts into action, because like I said, growing up, all I saw was one route. All all I seen was one route, and that was negative route. Get them before they get me. Retaliate. Violence. That was all my first thoughts. I got into brawls at school. I I got into I got into a lot of different things. You feel me? It's like that was my first thought. But when I realized that I ain't have to, I was like, dang, for real? Like I don't gotta do that? I was like, yeah. And it was like a chill was lifted off my back in a way, because it was like, I don't gotta do that. Like I thought this was something that I had to do. I thought this was the life that I had to live. But that wasn't the case. I can, even though I was I was dealt with this deck. I can play my cards however way I want to play my cards. You know, like you can get dealt any deck that the world want to deal you, but they can't tell you how to deal your cards. I mean, they can't tell you how to play your cards. So when negative things happen, I can decide whether to go down this route or go down this route. And I ain't had that insight at first. I thought I can only go down one route. But when I realized I ain't have to go down those negative routes, it changed my life. I started to to feel more like me in a way. I started to open up. I started to open up about my music. I started to open up about dancing. I'm not a very good dancer though, so don't, you feel me? I started to open up
You're good.
about, okay, but I started like to open up about a lot of new different things, and like the creativity part came in because I ain't have to think negative. I can think peace. That was something that I ain't think I can think at first because of the way that I was living. But yeah, that changed my life, just knowing that I didn't have to put every negative thought that I had into place. Changed my life around, because I I just stopped doing a lot of the things that I used to do that could have ended me up dead or up in jail, you know. So that was just a big eye opener. And when I saw that I can change. I just wanted to change my community, the city, and even the world, you know.
That's so good. That's so good. And I know people are already saying they're loving your comments here. We got one more, Dejan. Um, just ask, you're such an inspiring person. What advice would you give to teens struggling with physical distancing,
And
or
you
any
could
type of struggle, really?
you could say there's kind of two questions you could roll into that. It's like, what advice would you give to teens struggling with physical distancing, and how have you already been helping teens? Because you have been sharing and helping with other young people.
Physical distancing during the coronavirus, right? Or like
Yeah,
what do you mean? Oh,
I
okay,
think
cool,
that's
cool.
what you mean.
Like for me, it is hard to do physical distancing from like my close friends, because it's like, who want to be that person to tell their friends that they can't come over? Who want to be that person to tell their cousin, their sister, or something like that they not allowed in their house? You feel me? Who want to be that person? But that's the resilient part. You feel me? It's nothing personal. It's it's just keeping yourself safe and keeping the other person safe. And I feel like it's more selfish when you be around people doing this virus. You feel me? Because it's like you're not taking the other person's health into consideration in a way. So it's like, so like, just let people know it ain't personal. You feel me? It's just, this is a serious situation. And it's like, I'd rather for us survive this now than us come in contact and somebody catch something. You feel me? So it's like, just keep it real. Like, it ain't nothing personal. Just, we can just keep our distance for right now until this thing is over with. And then for like for like for like those people that we was talking with, I basically just tell them, find something that you like to do in a way. Like, just find something that keeps you busy, or just do some random stupid things and just find something to do. You know, and it's millions of things that you can do in the house. I didn't I didn't created so many safety tools around the house that make it just makes no sense. I didn't did so many things. So it's like it's things that you can do to keep yourself busy. You just gotta open your mindset so the creativity can come into place. You feel me? Just open your mindset so the new ideas can come in. See, so it's like your mind is like a cage. When you open your cage, you're gonna let all those negative things out and let the creativity come in, you know? And once you do that, you're gonna find different things. You're gonna find different things to do to keep yourself busy. Or you can just, you feel me, play games with your friends. I know people got systems, people, you feel me, just find different things to keep yourself busy and to keep you safe and to keep you distant from other people. And I always remember, like, it's never personal. It's just safety. You feel me? It's just nothing personal. Because my daddy one time, my daddy he told me to get him a bowl, and I used hand sanitizer after I touched his bowl, and he got mad. I'm like, Pops, it's nothing personal. You feel me? It's just safety, man. It's nothing personal. It's just safety, and he understood that. So it's like, you feel me? It ain't nothing personal. You feel me? Just keep it real. You love your friends. You love your people. Just keep it real with them. Ain't nothing personal. It's just safety.
Thank you. We can ask you more questions about youth, but I got a couple other ones because I want to get through a couple. One is, how have your insights affected your experiences of racism?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one, man.
That's a spicy
That's a
question.
That's a,
spicy
that's a
question.
that's a super spicy question. Okay, okay. I got something spicy to throw back at him. Okay, cool. It affected me in a good way because when I learned that I created all my thoughts inside my head, I realized that I created my stereotypes that was in my head. I created the stereotype that, okay, um, I'm not racist, but look, this is the stereotypes that I created. I created that all cops was bad. I I I made the thought that all white people was rich, stuck up. I created that anybody that wasn't from my area was different from me. You feel me? No matter if you was black, white, Hispanic, anything. If you wasn't from my area, you was different. But when I realized that I just created that, I just created that thought that everybody was different. Once I realized that, I can uncreate it. Now I see cops as cops. I see white people as white people, black people as black people. I see people as people in a way. I don't see them as aliens no more. Like I can go in different hoods now and see people as people. I don't see my people as ops no more. I don't see them as the other side. I don't see them as the other. You feel me? Because I realize that we ain't different. You feel me? We just from different areas living in different realities, you know? Because ain't I don't think nobody is made the same except for twins. And even twins ain't the same, you know? So it's like ain't nobody made the same. So it's like it's gonna be different people that you're gonna come in contact with. It's gonna be different people that got different perspectives. You feel me? And like once you open your mindset, you gonna let other people's perspectives in. So so like it's like people got different lanes. Everybody got their own lane, and I realized that. I realized that we ain't different. We ain't aliens. We all live up on the same planet. We drink the same water. We eat the same food. Maybe it's different food, but we eat the same food. You feel me? So it's like we ain't all different. We just live in different areas, playing the cards that we was dealt at the best way that we can. You feel me? And and it's like that was so good to me because I ain't have to look over my shoulder no more. I ain't had to walk down the street wondering if this person finna try something. I don't gotta see a cop car and realize like this cop finna try to send me to jail or finna try to beat me or something like that. I don't gotta walk downtown to see white people and think, oh, their life is just so perfect. You feel? Because everybody go through something, you know? And it's like everybody go through something. And and yeah, it's just like I just realized everybody go through something and like everybody not bad. You feel me? They just living the life that they was given. And I can't judge them from living the life that they was living. So why would I stereotype them? So I just decreased the stereotypes and like trying to get to know people up on that personal level. And instead of looking from the outside on in, I can work my way from the inside on out.
That's awesome.
So
Was,
good. You're
was
so
that
good,
spicy enough?
Dejan. That was so
that was
spicy.
very spicy. And
Linda wrote that realization could change the world, and that is all true.
and for
All
you know
true.
for context, like Dejan, you don't. It's not like you don't come across situations that
Mm-hmm.
are racist.
Mm-hmm.
Being
Mm-hmm.
racially profiled,
Right.
being pulled over
Just
just because
happened the
you're in
other
a
day.
car.
Mm-hmm.
So for any people listening, like having the way you're talking about it, when it is a lot of stuff happening to you
A lot of stuff.
that could easily have you create a them and a generalization that everyone is like that. So
Yeah, because it was like one time I got pulled over by like the police officer, and it's like he called 6 backup cars, and I was just taking my little brother to school. Like I could have instantly like went off and just like I'm gonna walk the band, but in my head now now that I opened up my mindset, now that I strengthened it, now I can see things for what it is. I knew if I would have ticked off at the officers, I would have probably made it even more worse. You feel me? They were just doing their job, you know. They probably did single me out, but I didn't know that. You feel me? They was just doing their job. They saw a car, they pulled it over doing their job. You feel me? And I can't get mad at that because they doing their job. But for some people, they might think, oh, it's racist. They stereotyping what the band. I don't know their lifestyle. I don't know their background. I don't know their races. You feel me? So why would I judge off back? So my best thing is just to stay cool, calm, and just try to defuse the situation. You feel me? You don't gotta talk back to the cops. You don't gotta do all that. You feel me? You can just be you. You can just stay calm. You feel me? And everything just gonna blow back. It's just like the wind. If the storms just stay calm, the storm's gonna pass. You know. You just gotta keep on moving. You feel me? You just don't judge off back, because if I would have judged off back, I would have probably been in more trouble. But since I ain't judged, they like, oh man, you a good kid. You feel me? We gonna let you go. You feel me? And that was good. And I ain't think that cops can do that. But now I see like, oh man, you feel me? They probably just doing their job. They some cool cops. You feel me? And I just kept it pushing. You know, I don't got to get into it with everybody. You know, and that's the best part when you know you don't got to do something. Is it's just good. You feel me? Because you don't got to do it. You don't got to act that way. It's a choice.
All right, we have
Thank
one
you.
last one because we're getting so many amazing questions for you, but we do have
Everyone's loving it.
other guests coming up. So yes, peace
Yeah.
in the car with Dejan.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah. People say if you do peace in the
That's
car with Dejan, cops might stop to him for an autograph and bring him coffee and donuts.
It's true.
uh,
You can put a sign. I only accept pancakes because I know you.
pancake. Only pancakes. Only pancakes. Only
Oh,
pancakes.
man.
Man.
Okay, last question for Dejan.
Okay. You want to do this one?
Yeah, about retaliating. I thought that was a good
Okay.
question.
What will you say to someone who believes in retaliating, especially with friends who seems to bully them?
I don't understand the question.
So I think what they're asking is if you were being bullied, like if you knew someone who was getting bullied and they felt like they had to retaliate, like they believed that retaliating was the only thing that was going to help them in that situation, what would you say to that person? How would you share some of your wisdom that you've gained about, because you've had issues of
Yeah, yeah,
people,
yeah.
especially
So
when you started changing and everything. So what did you do about that? Or what would you say to this person that would help them?
um the best advice that I can get is like retaliation never solves the issue, you feel me? Because it's like the circle of violence, you feel me? They retaliate, you retaliate, they retaliate, you feel me? It's just an ongoing thing. So it's like you just gotta talk to that person, you feel me? Like if you know he getting bullied, like you feel me, it ain't no shame in asking for help, you feel me? Ain't no shame in asking for help, basically. Ain't no shame in asking for help, because it's like if you feel like you in danger to the point where you have to retaliate, I won't tell nobody like don't retaliate, but it's like you still have that other option. You feel me? If if you feel like that's your only option, then go ahead. But I wouldn't recommend it because like you still have that other option. You can go act. You can go talk to a adult. You can go ask for help. You feel me? You can do a lot of different things than retaliate. But I feel where that person come from because that was my mindset too. I didn't see no other option. But once I opened my mindset to other possibilities and like put different things up into contact, I created different different solutions to the problem because it's like I can remove myself from the area. I can remove my own self. You feel? Because it's like if the area not working for you, why would you stay up in the area? You can transfer. You can you feel me? You can do a lot of different things and just retaliate. You feel me? But that's like it's like a tricky thing though, because you feel me? I can't tell you what's best for you. You only know what's best for you. I can only give you my insight. Retaliation ain't the best. It, it ain't the best choice because it's just gonna keep on going round and around and around. So just try to navigate in a way that you can keep yourself safe and keep the other person safe. You feel me? Because it's like maybe that person bully you because they going through something, you know. So you just gotta think, man. You just gotta keep your mindset open to new possibilities and new solutions, and then you're gonna find the right solution that work for you. Because it's millions of solutions, but you can only find the right solution that's best for you.
Amen. Well said. And I also think, Dejan, wouldn't you say that as you strengthen your mind and you start to see those alternatives, you stop living in as much fear of what other people think? So
Yeah,
you just
because it's
kind of,
like
you got peace in yourself. What other people say doesn't matter as much.
that. It really does. Because if you know you, then other people thoughts won't matter. Be feel me? Because those comments only matter when you think about it yourself. You know, if you don't think about it, you feel me? It won't matter to you. Because if you know yourself 100%, you know what everybody else saying isn't true. You know, it's just gonna go in one end and out the other, or you can laugh at it like ha ha ha. They know something about me that I don't know. You know, like dang, when was I gonna know about this? You feel me? It's like once you know yourself fully, things that people say about you won't really matter because it's like I know myself. I know that ain't true. So why would I care about it? Because if you waste your time on it, you're gonna put your mindset into that mental. You're gonna put your mindset into that state. You feel me? And you don't want to put your mindset into that state because it's hard to get out. So basically just know yourself. And once you know yourself, you don't gotta listen to everything that haters gotta say. Feel me? And if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. You feel me? So if you got haters, hey, say hey to them. Love all your haters because you popping. You feel me? You popping, baby. You feel me? So you know, if you got haters, just get 10 more haters. You feel me?
I
Because
love you.
you doing something good. You feel me?
That's awesome. Dejan, as always, you're an amazing ray of light in this world. And I'm so glad that you were able to join us today and share all of that spicy wisdom with the group. Thank you
Spicy.
so much. I know you're going to stay and hang out. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we do have to move on. We have our next guest. Max is going to be joining us in a moment here.
Mm-hmm.
I did just see that we had another question come in from someone. It was a pretty long question. I don't want you to think that we're ignoring it, but I would just say, keep listening, like hang out on this because this was an in-depth, very feelingful question. And I just want to say to this person, like, stay on and just keep listening in a way, like kind of forget yourself, forget the problem that you're dealing with if you can temporarily, and just listen to the really helpful words that the guests on this virtual retreat are sharing with you, because I think you might find that by the end of this, you have some answers to that question. And if not, come back and ask it again at the end, and we can directly respond to it. But I think it's going to hopefully get answered for you throughout the rest of today. Okay, so Adik's going to do the tech for me. I have been suggested that I should put this below my face. I'm assuming people can. No, I think I should get a bigger microphone. I don't think this one is big enough. It's a joke. I hate this thing.
It's like holding Teo on my lap. It's like a good 20 pounds. Okay, so we're just shifting.
Can you tell Dejan to leave and then come back?
Okay, Dejan, can you drop off and then rejoin?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
I don't know if he's gonna be able to get in though, babe, because the
Okay, tell him to not do it.
okay, don't do that.
Oh.
Teo just spit up down the front of Ada. So fun.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Okay, now how do I get Max?
We'll get him Max by going down to
You can search right here.
KL.
Oh, is it in alphabetical order? That's so helpful. Okay. All right, Max, we are adding you as a co-panelist here. Just 1 second. Okay.
Can you talk? Can you see?
I think we can hear, Max, can we hear you or is that Dejan I'm hearing?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Now we're working on your video.
All right.
See if you can, maybe, has he turned it on?
Yeah, Max is pretty tech savvy. I'm pretty sure he turned it on. You turned on your video, right, Max?
How's
Oh.
that?
There we go. Now we can see you. Okay,
All right.
cool. Do I need to go back and forth between he and I, or can I just leave it?
You could just leave it.
Okay. All right. So people feel free to chat me if there's anything wrong with the sound or video, but I think we got it sorted. I'm going to move over here. Can you hear me okay, Max?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so as I said, when we kind of kicked this off this morning, that I was really pleasantly surprised that you offered to join us and be a speaker with our retreat today, because in my life right now, you are the most prominent example of resilience of any human I've ever seen before. So it was an honor to be able to include you on this. And I was also not surprised, because this is very you, but also I think it's really generous of you to offer to just speak openly. Like, I thought maybe we would just talk about your art, and you said, no, I'll talk about anything, because that just seems authentic and probably likely to be most helpful to people. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet. I
for
hope
doing
I'm
this.
as spicy as Dejan.
He's a hard act to follow, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so I had thought of like planning some questions, and then I realized I was kind of just doing that out of nerves, and I was like, no, I'm just going to show up and let it roll. But I think it would be helpful if you could just, in whatever way feels comfortable to you, sort of introduce yourself and share what, in my words, and you use whatever your words are, what you've been forced to discover in a way about the human experience and resilience when being thrown into the unknown, like headfirst in an instant, it kind of unknown that I don't think many people encounter in their lives. So I'd love to just hear your take on that, if you don't mind starting there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can kind of just talk about what's happened the last 6 months and my experience of that, and then you can ask questions, or other people can ask questions, and take it from there. But as Mara mentioned at the beginning of this, October 25th of last year, my wife and 2 small children died. They were killed in a car crash. My wife was 34, my daughter was 2.5, and my son was 4 months. So it was very much, my entire life, our entire young family that we were just starting building together was gone. So as you can imagine, that was it was very devastating. You talk about going into the unknown. My life was completely turned upside down. My life didn't really make sense in the context that I had been used to living my life. And for the past 6 months, I've been trying to navigate that, not because I want to, but because I have to. So there's kind of two facets to the grieving process, or I guess at least the grieving process in my situation. One is the actual loss. So there's like the loss of love. There's the loss of my people, which is very hard and very emotional, but it's just something that you kind of got to do and live through. And then the other aspect is probably more of what you guys want to talk about today, which is the unknown. So when you lose your life, you're pushed into this place of total unknowing. So for me, everything that I had built around my life and what I constructed as my identity as a person and what I was doing on a day-to-day basis no longer applied in the absence of a wife and a children and a life and a home that we were building, that kind of thing. So then you're forced into the position of reinventing that, or reorienting, recalibrating, whatever word you want to use. But you basically have to make something new because what was old is no longer there. So for me, that was very unknown. It was very scary, and it was like honestly very painful. I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize how tightly they cling to their identities or their conception of themselves until that conception of yourself is totally shattered or taken away. So that's kind of what I've been up to for the last 6 months. That, and also just kind of processing more of the loss, the grief part of it. So kind of early on in that process, in the, reorienting my life process, I decided that I wanted to be proactive. I wanted to be engaged with the process and not let it cripple me or paralyze me. You hear a lot of people who suffer extreme loss and trauma, and they end up, on the kitchen floor with a bottle of whiskey and they can't do anything. I just didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, which is pretty easy and pretty tempting to go to. It's pretty slippery, but I just wanted to not let that happen to me. So I had this idea in my head that I wanted to be proactive. I wanted to engage with this, figure out what this means in some kind of larger context, and ultimately figure out what my new identity is, what my new purpose is, all that kind of stuff. So in order to do that, I came up with a lot of ideas that were kind of, in retrospect, they seem like go-to ideas. They're kind of like examples of what other people who had similar situations to me do. So I took a year off work. I was like, I'm going to travel. I'm going to present myself with all these new experiences. And through that kind of mode of exploration, like something's going to come up. Something will present itself to me that makes this make sense, that points me in a direction where I'm going to find meaning in life moving forward. So, they died in October. We kind of took the month of November to do the deep grieving and have a memorial. And then I kind of got into this, like, I'm going to go out in the world and figure shit out mode. So like I went to the desert in Southern California to these hot springs, which are supposed to be like healing hot springs. And the month of January, I did a solo road trip from Washington all the way down the coast, California, which was awesome. And like, did a lot of hiking and just a lot of reflective time. I went to this grief retreat at the Esalen Institute in Big Sur, where, for 3 days I was with like a group of 30 young people who had all lost somebody close to them, and we sat around and did these rituals and exercises and talked about the grief process. I went to this meditation retreat in Virginia, which was, kind of a new agey thing that was supposed to tap us into other realms of consciousness and, potentially have communication with people who have passed and all this kind of stuff. And I had a trip booked for April to go to Nepal to go trekking, which is kind of like maybe the most cliched of all these things, but it sounded really cool. It's like, yeah, like when you go through an existential crisis, like go to the Himalayas and be at the top of the world and, trek and some sort of enlightenment will come to you. So that meditation retreat in Virginia was at the beginning of March. And when I went on that retreat, it's the kind of place where they encourage you to like kind of disconnect and go off the grid while you're there. So they said it's not a rule, but we encourage you to like turn off your phone, tell work and friends that you're away for a week and just turn off your phone. Don't go on your laptop at night and watch videos on YouTube, like really be in this thing, which I did. So I was essentially off the grid for 5 days. And the Corona thing had already started a little bit. It was going on in China. I think there was like, the few cases in Washington State, but I didn't really think much of it. So anyway, I come back on the grid after this meditation retreat, and like the world in the span of that week has gone fucking nuts. And Corona is a pandemic now. It's not just like this weird thing happening in China, and everything is shutting down left and right. So, what that meant for me was, well, first of all, like my trip to Nepal got canceled, and kind of my my idea that like I'm gonna go out in the world and find my answers. The world was like, oh no, you're not. Like you're gonna sit right there at home, and if there's any answers, it's up to you to figure them out on your own by yourself at home. So at first that was very, frustrating and kind of debilitating and like honestly kind of depressing. I was, even though it was a grieving process, I was excited about all the shit that I was planning in order to get through my grief. And I was pissed off that another thing could be taken away from me. But after a few weeks, and obviously this is all kind of very recent and happening in real time, but after a few weeks, I came to realize the value in what's going on right now, and the value for me personally in not moving around and not going out into the world for my answers. And also, honestly, I'm realizing the value in not needing answers the way that I did before. So, I think as everybody's has, my life has gotten very simple in the last month. I'm not totally alone, so I still get to see my parents. I see my sister Callie and her husband Matthew, which is nice, but there's, we're living on lockdown the way the rest of the country is. So there's not a lot of social interaction. There's, not a lot of activity. And what I've found is that's okay. Like life is my personal life is very stripped down. I still go to my studio and paint, which that I have that. I planted a garden, so I enjoy spending time in my garden. And, Like I don't, for right now, I don't really need anything more than that. You know, and I think the it's been an interesting exercise in learning how little I can live with and still be okay. I mean, the fact that you can live without your wife and children and be okay has kind of been mind blowing. The fact that you can live without physically moving around or interacting with society and still be okay is kind of mind blowing. And just the simplicity, finding fulfillment through simplicity is pretty awesome. Like, you know, I haven't had a day since the lockdown started where I've gotten bored and can't come up with something to do, which is kind of amazing, you know. And I think I'm hoping that, you know, humanity on the whole is having similar realizations that like you don't need so much, you don't need to be moving around so much. And then when all of that peripheral noise and movement and distraction is stripped away, you realize, you know, who you really do enjoy spending time with, what you really do enjoy doing. And maybe that's 3 things, maybe it's only 1 thing, and that's really all you need, you know? So yeah, I guess that's all I got for now.
So amazing. And the thing that kind of gives me goosebumps is I think back to the post that you shared 4 days after their deaths, and that you closed it out with, if I could share anything with people, and I'm just paraphrasing, I'm not reading this, but it was to stop all your busyness and just live in the essence, and that's all you have, and that's all you ever had. And that's what you were realizing from a very deeply sad place. But there was so much hope in that statement, actually. And I know that that post got shared thousands of times. And I've heard from so many people that that changed them. Those words in particular, I mean, the story of what happened to you obviously shocks people, but then the fact that you have those words for people. And I find it eerie that then a pandemic came and told everyone the same thing. So I don't want to make more of it than it is, but I mean, for us, it's like you can't help but be like, well, that's interesting. Stop all your busyness? No, you're not gonna? Okay, here's a way to do it. And so I think that you were forced in a tragic way, but we are all being forced in a collective way now together to rise to the occasion of being, not having to do so much, not having to be in the busy work so much, and finding that truer essence in our interactions with people, or in your case, and how you beautifully described it, just inside of yourself. Like, there's an essence to you too. It's not just, obviously there's an essence that you get to experience with people that is beautiful, but there's also an essence to you that I hear you pointing toward. And Dejan, in his own way, very different way, pointed toward that too. Just like when you get peace in yourself, all that other shit just stops having so much importance and so much negative effect on you.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to the identity thing. You know, I mean, I think when all of the doing is stripped away, you know, I think a lot of the way people construct their identities is from their actions. And now that we're in a time when action is severely limited, you're just stuck with being or essence, then you kind of get a deeper look at what your identity is, or who you really are as a person, you know. It's not your job. It's not your, you know, your exercise routine or your
Right.
talents or whatever you think it is that people identify with you. It's, you know, it's what you're left with when you're just sitting there quietly without any of that other stuff.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Someone said my mic doesn't work well. Yeah. Okay. You said something, and this is so, Max and I have been having a lot of these synchronicities lately. But I took a picture of this quote in the book I was reading last night because I thought it might be interesting to share at some point on this thing. And then you kind of just said it. So I wanted to share it and then ask you to say more about your experience with it. Let me see, is it this one or the next one? Okay, I'm just going to read the two of them back to back. This is from Anita Morjani's book, Dying to Be Me, which, Max, you can add that to our list, our little mini book club we're having. It's a great one.
Yeah.
But she says, needing to operate out of concrete beliefs limits my experience because it keeps me within the realm of only what I know, and my knowledge is limited. And if I restrict myself to only what I'm able to conceive, I'm holding back my potential and what I allow into my life. However, if I can accept that my understanding is incomplete, and if I'm able to be comfortable with uncertainty, this opens me up to the realm of infinite possibilities. I've found that subsequent to my near-death experience, I'm at my strongest when I'm able to let go, when I suspend my beliefs as well as my disbeliefs and leave myself open to all possibilities. That also seems to be when I'm able to experience the most internal clarity and synchronicities. My sense is that the very act of needing certainty is a hindrance to experiencing greater levels of awareness. In contrast, the process of letting go and releasing all attachment to any belief or outcome is cathartic and healing. The dichotomy is that for true healing to occur, I must let go of the need to be healed and have answers and just enjoy and trust in the ride that is life. So
Yeah.
you had said you're realizing kind of since you've been on lockdown that your need to go out and find answers is not really true. What can you say more about that? Like, has that been hard to let go of, or scary to let go of, or freeing, or wonderful, or all of the above?
It's been, well, it hasn't really been scary, or it's more of a reorientation of my mindset, you know, and ultimately I've found that it's more liberating to not need answers or to not need the meaning. You know, I mean, I guess the way to put it is like I so desperately wanted this tragedy that happened to me to have some sort of larger purpose or have some, yeah, like divine meaning. And I wanted that shown to me. I wanted it explained to me. And I realized that it doesn't really work that way. At least it doesn't work that way in the way that I was looking for it, like going out and looking for it and, you know, kind of like seeking an epiphany. I mean, you know, it's like seeking an epiphany is like an oxymoron. You know, epiphanies just happen to you, and they usually, like by definition, they happen when you're not expecting it. So to give myself the permission to not have to look is liberating. It's like a relief in a way. And also the other kind of component to this is not having the future. So like the future isn't really available to any of us right now. You know, and I'm sure lots of people have heard about, you know, the importance of being in the moment, and that all you have is the present moment, like cherish the present. And that is being forced on us in a way that I think is very cool and very important, because nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. I mean, nobody even really knows what's going to happen next week. So we really are like, you know, moment to moment, day to day right now as a collective humanity, collective consciousness. And for me personally, I realized that, you know, in dealing and trying to process the grief and the loss, I was looking too hard at the future. So I was making all these plans. I kept putting things on the horizon, like what's the next trip? What's the next retreat? What's my next activity that's going to pull me out of this and help this make sense? And, you know, that ultimately it's kind of escapist, and it's not really being in the moment, which is where like all the, you know, the essence and the good stuff is. So yeah, I think that's kind of a cool lesson in this for everybody too, is, you know, the slowing down, kind of hanging in one place, realizing what you really value in life, realizing kind of what your true essence is, and all of that stuff is happening in real time in the present moment right now. It's not happening in the past, and you're not planning for it in the future. It's just what you can pull together right now. So.
Yeah, and I think like what she said about healing, because she had cancer, and that was why she went into a coma and died and came back. Anita Morjani, so I'm speaking about, but she said I had to let go of the desire to heal in order to be healed. And what I'm hearing and what you're saying is I had to let go of the need for meaning in order to find this meaning that I'm experiencing right now, which is the simplicity. And I think it's so beautiful to hear you say, like, I haven't been bored once. I've just been doing what I want to do each day. And for now, that is all you need. That is the meaning, or whatever. That's it. It's being in life, which is, as you said, a pretty incredible thing for us all to have to be learning collectively at the same time.
Yeah.
I'll open it up to questions. If people want to start typing questions in the chat, feel free, or on the if you're on the Facebook version of this, you can type them in there. But I just wanted to ask if you'd talk a little bit about how you've been creative. And I think you've always been a painter, an incredibly prolific painter, no matter what you had going on in your life. I know that, you know, when we used to live together in New York, if you had a 9-to-5 job, you woke up early so you could paint, or you went and painted after. And it's always been something that's been a part of your life. So that, I know, has been still a part of your life, and very well, I'll let you say what it's been for you since their deaths. But then also you've been writing, which is a new thing. And so you've been you've been producing a lot, which I think is interesting, because a lot of people feel like when things get taken away from me, it's hard for me to do anything. But, you know, you're kind of living proof of the opposite of that. So I wondered if you could say a little bit about your painting and writing and what that's been like for you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the painting, as you said, like I've been doing it my whole life. And to kind of go back to what we were just talking about, I mean, painting for me is one of the few practices I've found in my life where I am, I think, almost totally in the moment. You know, it's like a very engaged process for me. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow or the past. It's just, you know, the creative process through painting is very, it just takes me right there now. I mean, probably similar to what some people get from playing sports, or, you know, I mean, people have all sorts of varieties of things that they feel really engaged in. So that's what that thing is for me in my life. And painting specifically, since Vanessa and the kids died, has been, I did a couple paintings early on, like literally the week that they died, I started a new painting. And they're the paintings are about them, and it's about losing them. And I found that I wanted to do that because it was a way to honor them and to kind of hold them in my conscious experience. Yeah, it was a way to hold them in my mind, essentially, but also have something creative and engaged that was coming out of it. Rather than just having memories of them and sitting in my bedroom and crying about them and looking at old photographs, it was a way to kind of actively engage with the grief process, I guess. And are you still there, Mara?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Did you lose me?
I just came up and said Dejan White, and that's all I saw. For a
Yeah,
while.
he popped up. I didn't know how to get rid of him, but he seemed to get rid of himself pretty quickly. So.
And then in terms of the writing, yeah, I'm not a writer. I've never really written since I was in college. I haven't had to write anything really. But as part of the loss, I just felt compelled to write. Also, pretty early on, maybe like a couple of weeks after they died. And well, I guess I wrote that first thing that I put on Facebook like immediately. But then I started writing, kind of got into this everyday routine of writing, which ultimately was just a way it was a way for me to process what I was thinking and feeling internally, and just the act of putting it into language through writing it helped to like metabolize it in a way, and help to bring it as something that was internal and put it external. And just through that process of externalizing what was internal, it kind of helped it. Yeah, I don't know what the best word. It's like metabolizing, like kind of processing the thoughts and the ideas. So I found that very therapeutic. I also enjoyed it, and after a while, I was getting enough kind of material that I entertained the idea of turning it into a book, which I'm still working on. Yeah, and that's kind of the long and short of the writing. And it was, the stuff that I've been writing, it's a combination of kind of memories of Vanessa and the kids, but also insights and kind of reflections on the nature of existence and the meaning of life and where we make meaning and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully it's readable at some point. We'll see.
I'm sure it will be, and I'm sure it will help a lot of people. I have no doubt. Okay, so if anybody wants to ask a question, I have a couple here, and I'm going to kind of combine these because they're similar. So one person is really struggling, like they said that they're like in a very dark place because they live in fear of the future, because they're really struggling with having a disabled son and worrying about living in the world without love. But really the question is about my life experience is focused on fear of the future, and basically that puts that person in a deep dark space. And how have you navigated that? And then another question similarly was, I'm curious how Max perceives of the past and the future. Does he feel they have a place in our minds or our collective learning that is productive? Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So really just kind of that people have a lot of thinking about the past and the future, and what have you learned about that? And do you think it's productive at all?
Sure. Maybe Eric's fixing it, but I don't think that microphone is on. It's supposed to-
How about now?
Yeah, no, it's on.
It wasn't on.
Yeah.
You just handed to me. I didn't know I had to flick the switch. Okay. So did you hear anything I said?
I did, yeah. I mean, I think the laptop mic was on, so I was able to make it out. But
Okay.
basically, like, the future is causing fear, and is there any place for the past or the future in our minds?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll do the second one first. The past and the future, I don't think we have a choice for them having a place in our minds. I mean, kind of the default way that human beings are wired is we spend most of our time either dwelling on the past or planning for the future. But ultimately, if you want to get kind of deep philosophical on it, those are illusions because they don't really exist. They only exist in our minds. The only thing that is actually existing at any given time is the present. And those, like Buddhists have been saying that stuff for a few millennia, and lots of wise people. If you just look at it like that, I think it's somewhat dismissive of the human experience. I think if we embrace the fact that we have the ability to dwell on the past, and we embrace the fact that we have the ability to plan for the future, but kind of realize this, where they're valuable and where they're a disservice, is where the importance is. So if you're dwelling too much on the past, or if the future is giving you too much anxiety, then our ability to live in this kind of time-based reality is a disservice. But if you realize that we're always only in the present moment, but we have this cool ability to remember the past and reflect back on good times and bad times and learn from the bad times, and appreciate the good times, and we also have the ability to plan for the future and be creative. And that's kind of like the beauty of human consciousness, and that's what seems to separate us from most of the other forms of consciousness here on Earth. It's just a cool thing. So just if you see it for what it is and don't let it get the better of you, I think you're in a pretty navigable position. So I guess I kind of answered both of the questions, hopefully.
Yeah. And I loved that you included that, it's a little bit too washing over it all to just say, well, live in the now, that's the only thing that exists, because there's not a human on the planet that their mind naturally has thoughts about the past and future, both negative and positive, and helpful and unhelpful. So I think you answered it really beautifully and very real, which is always helpful.
Yeah.
Hey, can you see questions on the Facebook Live? I don't have it pulled up on mine. You're getting a lot of thank yous.
Okay.
Yes. I think. Yeah. I'll just thank you for sharings.
Anytime. Hope it was spicy.
Yeah. It's very spicy. No, I can't thank you enough, because I know, we talked a little bit about, I think sometimes it's just helpful for people to have something that puts what's happening in a larger perspective. And I think you have the larger perspective of that you've dealt with a way bigger shaking up of your reality than just the coronavirus. But at the same time, you're also going through the coronavirus in the same way everyone else is, like, oh shit, I can't take that trip now either. So there's the full range of it. And I think it's just probably really helpful for people to hear your perspective. And as always, I think it's very profound and beautiful. So thanks for being here today.
Yeah. Thanks for asking me. It was a surprise, but I'm glad I did it.
I'm glad you did it too. Okay. On that note, we're going to take a 10-minute break. We're kind of at our halfway mark here. So like we said before, if you want to stay on Zoom because you don't want to lose your place, which we do have 95 people or 97 people on right now, and there's only room for 100. So don't get off if you are concerned about that. You're already muted and your video is off, so you don't have to worry about it. And for those of you who do hop off, if you want to come back on, you can join us on Facebook Live. And after the break, we're going to be hearing from Crystal and Patrick and then Anna. Anything you want to
No,
add, Leo? Good.
he's good. He's ready for a nap.
Yeah, this is perfect break time. He's going down. All right, we'll see you
All right.
guys back in 10 minutes.
I think we're back.
Hey, hey.
Hello, everyone.
Everyone had a nice break.
Yes, we're back.
Thanks for all of your comments. We just had a flood of comments coming in on the chat, both on the Zoom and the Facebook Live, saying thank you so much. People are feeling so grateful for all the sharing that's happened so far, so peaceful, feeling really hopeful still. This was so beautiful and gorgeous, so real, I think for both Dejan and Max. So
Yeah.
thank you so much to our guests so far. And thank you for all of you for tuning in and staying with us, and all of your positive feedback and your helpful comments about the sound. Sorry, we're doing the best we can with like a few different.
Having a baby around.
He's doing the best he
cameras.
can with lots of tech and a baby.
Yeah.
So Teo is down for a nap. We'll see how long it lasts. But
Yeah.
if anyone is worried, I did get one request for more Teo.
Yeah. He's taking his time.
So maybe we'll have him more toward the end of this second half.
Yeah. And for people who are wondering like how they can get involved with what we're doing, the simplest way is just go on our website, onesolutionglobal.org. There's a get involved button. And I think the most timely thing would be to sponsor a kid for the Jetpack for Youth, which you'll see the whole program, what it is, but it helps kids like Dejan and Patrick that you're going to have on help other youth change both their state of mind with their environments in Southside Chicago. So if you want to do that, that's the best way to go get involved right now.
Yeah, we can put that in the chat box because some people have asked. And both, if you go to the Get Involved tab on our website, you can see everything from more free resources you can get if you want to listen to other podcasts we've done or recordings. We have free recordings of other events that we've done, as well as ways to get involved and support so that we can continue working with more youth like these amazing folks.
Cool. Should we put on the next two guests? I hope they are ready. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not exactly able to right now.
Not the one with
Am I not the host anymore? Let's see here. Okay.
So what did everyone do on their 10-minute break? I changed a diaper, put a baby down for a nap, and got a glass of water.
If Max or Dejan is still on, could you see if you can click and make us host again if I'm not host? Sorry about the tech stuff again.
No problem. Do you know where that's located?
Could you click on the three dots that are next to R?
In the top right hand corner of our box.
And then see if there's like a become host or give host thing there.
Yeah.
Oh,
thanks.
Great.
Perfect.
That helps us a lot. Now we have control again. All right.
It's all an illusion.
Let's put them on. All right. Prince and Crystal, you guys there?
Unmute them, maybe. Nope.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Can't start your video because the host has stopped. Okay.
All right. We can't see your video. Maybe we have to do that. Make co-host. There we go.
Action.
All right. Can you try to turn on your video if it's not on? There we go.
Hey, hi everyone.
Nice to see you guys.
How you guys doing?
We're doing great. Happy to be on this side of the world.
I dig your threads there, Patrick.
Custom. This is the custom one.
Nice. For those of you who can't see it fully, that's his Rebels for Peace t-shirt. That was our vintage Rebels for Peace. That was our first iteration of the Rebels for Peace shirt. I feel like we're due for a third round.
Yeah.
Once this coronavirus is over, we'll have a revamp. We'll have like a post-corona Rebels for Peace t-shirt.
Yeah. Before we ask you guys questions, can people just confirm if they can hear and see us well? And as always, while you're listening, see if you want to ask Patrick and Crystal any questions, because they're all up for it.
We got a yes.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Sue, for can see and hear you. Great, everyone.
Okay.
Same side.
Let's do it.
It's our first, it's the small victories, you know?
Okay. Where should we begin? Patrick or Crystal? Who wants to go? Who wants to go first?
I'll let the Prince Jamar go first.
Such a sweet mom, of course. For those of you who missed the intro, we kind of introduced them at the beginning of this virtual retreat this morning, but we've known Patrick and Crystal for over 2 years now,
Yeah,
right?
I think so, yeah.
I think. And Patrick is one of our rebels for peace. And it's funny, I actually forgot this, but it was kind of Crystal's nudging. So Crystal was involved in some parent retreats that we were doing. And she kept saying, I really feel like my son would enjoy this. I think you get a lot out of it. So I think she kind of, you can tell me, Patrick, but I think she kind of maybe dragged you a little bit to one of those Saturday retreats. But then you came and you were with us. It was like, you got it.
We noticed you off the bat.
Yeah, you were really kind of on the same wavelength and picking things up really quickly. And then you talked to us on one of the breaks about wanting to get more involved and doing more of this for your own life, but also to help other youth. So, and that's how we came across Crystal and Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we start with you saying a little bit more about yourself, Patrick? Like, kind of like Dejan did, just what's your story, what's your background, and why are you a rebel for peace now?
Well, my name is Patrick. I go by Prince Jamar. That's my stage name. I'm a musician. I'm from the west side, south side of Chicago. I had like, a nice upbringing. I just, like I said, I always put myself in unfortunate situations, and I always just wanted to try things my way and just do things my way. Like, instead of listening to just following rules and just being compliant to things, I just will always choose the opposite route. So just growing up and trying to find myself more, and then just really realizing that me doing the same things and isn't getting me nowhere. So trying to try something different. And then in that process, she was steady talking about child retreats and different things like that. So I finally tried one. And then from there, that's when, I really got the full understanding from a different perspective of a whole group of people, to where I was really able to understand just other than myself about how I feel and go about situations, like just as far as like relationships, or why mom does certain things or take certain things the way they take it, because moms have a certain role in a relationship and a family, just like the son and the sister and the father. So just trying to understand everybody's role in a way, and not really understand it, but just
Work together.
Just try to be more open to things, because everybody is in their own reality in a reality. So just trying to really understand that everybody's going through their own thing in their mind, and somebody might be having a bad day this morning, and this is why they so agitated to the same thing that we was doing yesterday. So just trying to be more open with that. And that's just really that. And then just meeting y'all, doing the Rebels for Peace, meeting different people, staying open, moving forward, and just knowing that everything that I need is inside of me, and expressing that to everybody else.
That's awesome.
Beautifully said.
Can you say about, like, in terms of, because I know you're a good talker, but I also know you're a good artist. So what is it? What role does kind of creativity and music play in expressing that message?
It play a big role. It's just like me understanding, just trying to understand that like everything is a process. And with the music, I try to express that like you could create anything from nothing. Like all you need is just a belief and just try, just to put your energy into something, and just like we always say, just like keep moving and just keep going, and just trying to express that to people in different ways, and letting people know that there's love out here and that it's just not all bad and all evil. Like, and also understanding that part of life too, because everybody has those evil or negative emotions, to where just trying to explain to people that that's okay, and different ways to go about that, because that's something that I always deal with, like just negative emotions. Sometimes I might wake up mad. So just expressing myself like with music instead of doing negative things, and just letting that be my gateway to, you know, success. My therapy, just what calms me down, what allows me to help other people through the message, and just, yeah, knowing that like I don't need anything from outside to do the music. Like all I have to do is just wake up and write music. I could be in the jungle, I could be anywhere in the world. It doesn't take anything for me to create. And that's just all I'm trying to show everybody else. Like, you don't need anything but the willpower and to try.
Woo.
I think that's such a profound message right now, because
Yeah.
there's so many people that feel like,
It needs something. It's
yeah,
taken
like,
away
oh,
from me.
this coronavirus is messing with my flow or my mojo. Like, I can't do this, I can't do that. And you just totally, you know, threw a bomb into that idea and said, no, all I got to do is wake up and use my mind. I mean, I think that's what is so cool, is that nothing can take away a human's potential for the creative process and the ability to express.
Right.
So beautiful and so important to be reminded of right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. There's just a lot going on, and everybody gets a little depressed or a little anxious in these times due to fear and, you know, thinking about their family. And it's just a lot of pressure on everybody. So just for us to keep going and to show people that, you know, it's possible. So that's all. And not really pressing nobody if they are taking time off, or if they are, you know, trying to get themselves together, it's okay. But let's just keep going.
That's it.
So,
Should I ask Crystal?
Yeah.
Okay. So you and I were chatting yesterday, Crystal, and there were a couple of things that you mentioned that I thought would be really beautiful for you to share with the group today. You know, one is how you've been taking this time, you know, being sort of locked inside, sheltered inside with family. And you said to me, you know, I realized I had a lot of distractions, so I wasn't seeing things because I was keeping busy all the time. And kind of like we were talking about with Max just before this, and that this is a really interesting common thing we're all going through right now, which is I can't stay busy in the way I normally do. I'm being forced to slow down and see some things. And I want you to share specifically what you said to me yesterday about, you know, I think in years past, if this had happened, I wouldn't have been as mentally strong as I am right now to be doing what I'm doing in my household for myself with this quiet time. Could you say a little bit about that and what you've been doing and seeing lately?
Hello, everyone. My name is Crystal Burns. I'm Patrick's mom. I just want to start off by saying thank you guys for having us, and thank you for all the work that you're doing with Patrick and also myself, and allowing us to tune into the wave of thought, and knowing that we can take ownership of mental space instead of operating from labels. So I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you back.
With that being said, and my past, and with anything, I'll just speak from my personal experience. I do come from a different background, to where there was some associated trauma in my upbringing, and being inside was like, not being busy was like the best thing for me. Like that was my therapeutic way of dealing with issues or life. Just staying busy, don't address it, keep moving, so forth and so on. And as I continued on that path, I started realizing that when situations like this happen, every thought and every issue or anything that I needed to deal with at that time, I would put it on a shelf and it would just tumble on me in that moment of uncertainty. So now not only am I dealing with uncertainty, but now I'm dealing with all the other mess that I probably should have acknowledged and addressed and noise in my head at that time. But through this time of uncertainty in my life, I have a clear vision and understanding, and I'm emotionally stable to be able to really see some of the areas that I have improved in, that my household has improved in. I see a lot of sparks in the children that being busy, we sometimes miss. I have a greater level of appreciation for the things that I do have, and I'm not really focusing in on that lack part, because I am a single mother of 3 children and the sole provider. So it's always like that forever feeling of never having enough to kind of offer what the situation needs. And at this time, I'm just so grateful and enlightened to know that I have everything, and I have always had everything I have ever needed in this world and in this space through my resiliency, through being resilient and knowing that all of this is just temporary. And I'm just soaring through it. But, you know, it's really allowed me to just be human for a second. And once I started just being human, I started living.
So awesome. So simple, but so awesome and so easy to miss. You also shared something, and I know I shared that quote that you texted me last night with the group when we kicked it off this morning, because I loved what you said about turning adversity into your own lifelong, momentary adversity into lifelong prosperity. And not only is it catchy, but it's really profound. And you have an incredible example of that. You know, Dejan brought it up when someone asked him the question about how has strengthening his own mind helped him deal with racism. And you shared a story with me on the phone yesterday that happened not too long ago with your 15-year-old son, Joseph. Could you share that story and how you took what probably easily for a lot of people in your situation, I mean, that mama bear instinct comes out fierce, I know, where you could have gotten really pissed about that and it could have become something really negative in your lives, and it didn't. So if you could share that with the group.
Well, we currently live on the south side of Chicago, urban community. There was a situation where my son and one of his peers were traveling from school. My son goes to school on the west side. We stay on the south side. So he travels every day to school. So this particular day, there was a call to the police stating someone in the area was doing something, and the description was placed of a Black male. So they had ended up stopping my son and his schoolmate and handcuffing them for 30 minutes. I was really, really, really bothered by that. He came home. I could see that they had like tried to strip something, you know, not saying that they tried, but the situation kind of took away from my son's value, to where now he feels like he's the typical young Black male statistic. And now he can say, yeah, what they're saying about the police and how they treat us is true. Yes, maybe so, but we don't have to react in the way that you would naturally react after coming into some type of contact like that. Initially moving forward, if the police stop my son, he might run, he might this, he might want to be angry and be disengaged with the police. So I was noticing that kind of behavior and character was evolving out of this unfortunate, innocent situation that took place. So when he got home and I talked about it and, you know, we went about it, I called the police. I reached out to them and I said, hey, look, this is what happened, so forth and so on. I need you guys to come over to my house and we need to talk, because I don't want it to be the next time my son comes in contact with you, he reacts inappropriately because now he feels like he's being attacked. Like, you just messing with me. You know, when somebody's just messing with you, you don't always just walk away. So they came out, we were able to diffuse the situation. He was able to understand that it wasn't intentionally, how like in his young mind and in our community, that's how we sometimes view the system, as it's intentional, instead of understanding that it's a system that has been operating like this for a long time and it's not personal. So he was able to come out on top to say, yeah, they were just doing their job. And it's really not just because I'm a young Black male, but they were just really doing their job. Even if that was the case or not, I still want them just to understand that everyone has to share space sometimes in uncomfortable moments, but we have to still be proactive moving forward instead of being reactive, because I couldn't imagine that happening again and my son reacting wrongly or running or something like that when coming in contact, or just a level of fear. Let's just sum it up as fearing the police, because when you fear something, you don't react accordingly. It's just sink or swim. Like there's no thinking when you're fearful. When you're in a mind of fearness, you can't make clear judgment.
Such a powerful story. Thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know if Crystal can see these, but people are saying, wow, Crystal, you rock. Now you know why I said I want Crystal to be everyone's mom. Wow, such strength and presence of mind. What a creative response. And I think that's what's so cool about that story is you took, let's just be honest, a shitty situation.
Negative. Yes.
Yeah, and you
and
made
a
it
norm, and I made it unnormal, because that's so normal behavior amongst our community that unfortunately we have to deal with. And that's no longer my normal. And I want my children to know that you can stand up to this and say, this is not going to be my normal. This is not okay. And it's all based on how I react to it that's going to make it their normal or the appropriate way that it should be addressed.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah,
like
you're kind of recreating the whole
stigma
thing.
behind.
And it makes you know, the whoever the other is, the police in this case, go like, whoa, okay, now they had an impression after meeting.
They did, and they were able to, and they were able to take that. And I said, hey, when you're high policing traffic areas to where you know you have children, you should use a lens of what's taking place and not going in at 10 when dealing with children, but kind of gauging it, right? And then if he needed to be handcuffed or things in that nature, I get it. And I understand that the cop was just doing their job. But sometimes we have to make a connection before we make a reaction, because every reaction is not deemed for the situation. And that's what creates the disconnect and the distrust between communities and police.
Yes. There's so many things you said that I want to just like ask you to say more about, because it's so powerful. But you know, you said just because it's the norm, it doesn't have to be my normal. And you also said, and I understand some of these things are just reactions because of systemic things that have been in place for a long time. But what gets me so excited listening to your story is like, this is how it changes. This is how those systemic injustices change.
Yes.
It's not, you know, we don't have to wait for the perfect politician that's going to come and wave his magic wand or her magic wand and fix it all for us. It's like mothers like you, people like you and Patrick standing up and going, oh, I'm going to have a different response to this. It's going to be more productive. That's going to connect instead of react. That's not going to respond out of fear, because that's all the police are doing too, is they have their own built up, unhelpful, fear-based responses. And you're going through and you're breaking that cycle. And it's those, I think that's what's so exciting. And that's why we started One Solution, is because we believe in the power of individuals to change the system by changing their mind. Your change of thought and your recognition that your son could have a change of thought about what happened to him, and that the police could have a change of thought.
And they did have a change of thought, and they thanked me too. And they had even admitted that they didn't look at it from that standpoint, because when they're out there dealing with so much things that it's really not personal. It's just with, you know, so much that they deal with out there, that that's their way sometimes of reacting, and that they're going to try to be more mindful with that. And I think with training and even longevity to repair police and community trust, that's really what my mission was through that, is just repairing that, because so many of our young males have police distrust issues, and it creates an individual inferior complex for my children, to where now they have to feel like they have to accept this because this is normal. No, you do not. And the way that you do not do that is not reacting negatively, but knowing that you have the right to stand 100% on being treated well throughout this world, not even within your community, but just throughout this world, that you are a 100% human. You're not 3/5 of anything. You're 100% whole man, young man, and human being.
Crystal for president. Woo! I'm serious. So cool.
Well, there's so many questions we could ask.
I know. Let's see if anyone
People saying yes, amazing, yeah. Does anyone have any questions for them? 'Cause we
online
can
wants
ask a
to ask
bunch.
any questions. Yeah. Just to bring it back to
Crystal
kind of
for president.
Dejan says, Dejan will vote for you.
Amazing insight.
Yeah, someone wrote
Learned
learned
response
response
overcome by
overcome by
Crystal.
Crystal, and Prince to be able to stop and understand
Understand.
his thoughts.
Yeah, it's a choice.
So cool.
Crystal Burns, you're a strong, wise woman. Okay, we got one question here for Prince. Does Prince find it easier to create with less distraction? Does it hear his creativity more clearly?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like when I'm at home, I get real agitated. Like if I'm doing something or I'm like in mode and they calling me, or like, no, because like it's like a different vibe. Like I need to really be just me and the music. Like sometimes, you know, like I'm still here, like if it's an emergency or something like that. But yeah, outside noises definitely get to me. Like not like outside, like if I go to the park or something like that and it's like a natural noise, it's where it's just like birds, cars, I can still focus, but not family, not noises that I know to I hear my brother because I know his sound and how he, you know, so it's more irritating because I could pinpoint exactly what it is. But yeah.
How about like noise in terms of people, you know, saying you're not good, or people saying, you know, not liking or appreciating or doubting you, or that type of thing that you can, you know, both in the situation we're in right now, but that's always present for anyone who puts their
stuff out
puts
there.
their face to be to be visible, will have the risk of that coming to them. Like how do you perceive that? Is that something that is hard, is easy, has always been like that, or how has that changed for you?
Okay, so yeah, okay, so for that type of noise, like I used to take everything offensive because I'm a, like, you know, like I'm a caring person, so like stuff I say or stuff people say to me, like I take things a certain type of way depending on who the person is and like what's the situation. So early in my career, like yeah, when I was first starting, it was certain situations where people would try to make me out to be, or try to make it seem like I wasn't good enough, or you know, in situations because of who the other person in the room was at the time. So just understanding that people gonna be people, like, you know, it's everybody gonna have their own feelings towards you and what you're doing, and not taking it negatively, but just trying to hear people out, because that's what I do sometimes. Like if somebody's saying that I'm not doing something good enough, or that they don't like something, then I ask like, okay, for a suggestion. And then if they don't have a well enough suggestion, then I know that they're not coming from a genuine place. Because if you could tell somebody like, oh, you're not doing this, or this is bad,
And
but you
then when I
can't
follow up
offer
instruction,
a solution, then yeah, it's kind of like you just, but talking or coming from a negative place. But yeah, just knowing how to separate that too, and taking everything in and just accepting it, like just allowing everything to just come in and go out, because it's only temporary anyway. So taking it in.
That's it.
Because you can't run from it. You can't run from the voices.
Whoa.
The
No, I
noise.
like that. I like that because a lot of people are like, you just don't listen to anyone, just blah, 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 just block it out. But like the reality is we're human. The voice is going to come. We're going to hear it. We might feel it. But like what you're saying, like it comes and then it goes. It's temporary. And sometimes if you let it in, you're like, maybe I'll listen to this. That was actually something I want to listen. It's coming from a right thing. So you don't dismiss anything. And I feel like when you're in an unknown situation or you're very stressed or whatever it is, the temptation to shut off or not take anything in or not feel anything or like feel that everyone's out to get you is very, very tempting. I know when I'm down, I'm like, Mara might even say something and I'm like, hey, what you trying to say here? Like in my mind, I'll hear, oh, she's doubting me, but she's not. She's asking a question. She's trying to help. But because my mind is insecure, I will hear things that will kind of fit into that insecurity. But if you're secure, when I'm secure inside myself, then what she says, I'm like, oh, it stings first. Then like, well, let me listen to this. And it's like, oh, actually, she's saying something of value, and then I can take it in. And I can also sense like, if she is off, she's like, well, I might not take this in. She's just, she needs, to eat something, and then we'll talk. Like, it might be random.
She's hangry.
She's hangry. I don't take it personally, and I
give her a Snickers.
You give her a Snickers, yeah. No, don't give her Snickers. Her and sugar, it's not good. But it's true with like husband and wife and family, but it's true everywhere. Like, it's so normal to feel those reactions, especially
in personal space.
Yeah, and especially when this is like, if there's a lot going on, like there's a lot of stuff going on in your life, everything's uncertain, you're in an uncertain space, then the mind starts to create things to be uncertain about. And then once you start to catch that, it's like, oh, okay, that's just my mind creating uncertainty. I can still move and I can still take this in and be human about it.
Yeah. Can I add something that kind of blossomed between me and Patrick within this time? And I think I shared this a little bit.
Yeah.
So we've been having more in-depth conversations than ever now, which is amazing because it's bringing us so close. And Patrick expresses his way and we talk in so many different ways. And for the first time, I was able to realize out of 20-something years that even though I'm talking to Patrick, sometimes I'm talking at Patrick and the connection is being missed. It's not intentionally, but sometimes as humans, we talk at each other instead of to each other and through each other on that wavelength. Even though it's a wave going, catch the wave, tune in to what that other individual is saying. And that's where you get that solution. That's where you're able to now understand who this individual is, even though I'm mom and I have all these thoughts and perceptions and things that I want to, apply, or if he's not doing that, he's not, no, that's not it. It's really about tuning in and talking to the child or to the adult or to the individual instead of at them. And that has allowed me to, and he's been telling me this for a long time, and now, thank God I caught it, but I caught this wave, and it's created a whole, so now we're in a whole new world, and that's what happens when you connect with someone. Now you go into a whole new paradigm with that individual, and it's healthy, and you can see the prosperity there, and all of the other noises that were naturally there within the relationship have kind of quieted down because there's a greater understanding, or just a clear understanding.
Ooh,
of that.
that's good.
So beautifully said.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Um,
Oh,
we have a
people
request.
loving this. More presidents and
the-
more. Prince is so wise. I want to hear his music. Well, you might hear his music.
We're definitely hearing his music after this.
You might hear a little music.
We
yeah,
have one
question?
great question for Crystal that came up here. How has the community responded to you and your family's change? And also, you are an example for others to deal with race difference and suppression. What would you say to other communities and diverse groups of people?
Regarding the police issue or what we're dealing with on the coronavirus? Because I got,
I think she meant the police issue, but I think
Okay.
either
Maybe
one
in
is helpful
general,
for
yeah.
people. Yeah, I mean, I think you in general are an example in your community big time. And what would you say to other communities dealing with issues around diversity?
I really think that so I'm just going to speak from a personal space.
Yeah.
When I speak. So this has nothing to do with anything, just my personal say. When you're brought up in certain communities that have certain race barriers or issues, your mindset just naturally makes it again the norm. You have to start making it, it's not normal. This doesn't have to take place, and take ownership for the space and understand that when I step up or when you step up or we speak on underlying issues, which are tough to talk about, first of all, just even holding a conversation about that racism still exists is difficult. And it's only difficult not because we're prejudiced against each other, but we're still operating in that same thought, that same machine that created this. And we haven't come to a holistic solution, meaning tap into the system to where now that thought doesn't exist anywhere within our operations when it comes to work, when it comes to what kid gets good education, when it comes to that, it always flops back to unsocial, social justice or racism or this or the brown or the black. So I would say really just stepping up and being that voice and knowing that it's okay to address any situation that you feel is not right. Trust me, there is a million other people that probably feel that same way, but because of the noise, they haven't addressed it or we haven't addressed it. And once you address that issue, you will see that there are so many other people that are struggling or just didn't even know that it was an issue that would, that's the solution. Just continuing to be unique and speak on things when you see something wrong, you got to shine a light on it because it can go unlooked. Now, when it comes to the coronavirus in the community, if I could just get 5 minutes, I wouldn't mind just to address that.
Go for it.
So as we all know, on the news and all the media and all of this, a couple of weeks back, it might still be going on because I just cut the TV off and I'll just get the little snippets as they go. They were making a lot of noise about my Facebook page was too, because a lot of my friends have lost family members. So right now, in our community, we are mourning dearly because a lot of people that we know, family members, close friends, and so forth are unfortunately passing away from the coronavirus. So there was conversation based on rage, just separating us. Oh yeah, you don't listen, you don't stay in the house. No, nobody's the ignorance. They're just so ignorant is why they're the large group that's passing away, right? That was the kind of conversation amongst the community that we were exchanging back and forth, right? But the truth of the matter is when you take a different look, and like what I was having conversations with people is understand that we are the most, not the most, but we hold a lot of the essential jobs. First of all, let's just look at that from a level of we do handle a lot of the essential jobs. So a lot of people came into contact with COVID. Looking at the lack of resources within a lot of the communities that were already taking place. So in the event that this happened, it would have hit us hard. Just really looking at it from a different perspective versus trying to label it as ignorance or just not knowing or not following directions is just beyond wrong. So it's times like that and conversation, and then it creates a division within the community because now we mad at each other because we thinking, you know, it's all going on because nobody's staying in and everybody's still doing business as usual. So now all of these false messages are being spread and rumors are being spread instead of taking a deep dive and a look at what's taking place, what the reaction if something like this would have taken place with this type of group, you know, and things of that nature, and then gauging a clear vision on what really happened. So again, whenever disparity comes, it always comes with another layer of repairing that the community has to do, because now we have to repair the noise and all of the things that have, instead of someone just standing up and saying, well, hey, this is why it actually looks the way that it does. That's not the conversation. The conversation is just beyond negative. Instead of looking at it on a systematic level, like there's some things that we need to change. Like, again, this is a disparity that created that large number, like it does with our school systems, like it does with jobs, like it does with anything else that we operate in when it comes to the system. We are always affected. Not saying just us, not saying it like that. I'm not making this a separated thing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying from a stats type of a community to community kind of thing, demographics, while other people are dealing with other issues through the corona. We're dealing with funerals right now. We're dealing with family members dying and in the hospital and you know, and so we're dealing with a lot of stuff down here that I don't want to say down here. I apologize for saying that because I'm on the east side, so I always say down here because y'all up there. But yeah, it's a lot of different noise going on, and again, the unknown of jobs, the unknown of, oh my goodness, my kid is either going to not be returning to school and they're already getting just enough, you know, when it comes to education due to lack of funding and resources in the community and so forth. So yeah, this is a wonderful time to be in, because if we're able to transition the mind, we could come up with a lot of solutions that have been overlooked.
And I want to highlight, I mean, it's a really amazing example. And I hadn't heard you speak about that yet. So thank you for sharing about that. Someone said, how does the individual actually change a system? That was one of the questions that came up on Facebook. And I think, you know, what Crystal's pointing to is whether it's the example about how she handled the police and her son, or how she's handling the coronavirus and some of the
perspective.
like the different opinions that people have. You, in my opinion, are an example of people who don't just accept the status quo or take things at face value. You're always looking at
the brighter side of things. Like there's
like, how do we make this better than it is? I'm not going to sit back.
Yeah.
In my mind, like, you cannot change a system if people's thinking doesn't change. And if people's thinking changes and they take action on that, then things ripple out. Like, that creates a difference in people's personal lives. And then that is how systems change. I know, you know, we could go on and on about this, but Crystal's also very involved in her kids' school system. And because she's been involved in her kids' school system, she's made sure that there are certain resources available at her children's school that school didn't have before she came and stepped up and said, hey, this is something that we need for our children at this school. So now you have an entire school that's touching other children besides just Crystal's, that are getting positively impacted because one individual stood up and said, this doesn't have to be the normal. I'm going to have a creative thought about how to make this better. So I just wanted to really highlight all of the things you've been sharing and all the other things that I know that you're up to in life that are beautiful examples of how only an individual can change a system. If you look at what a system is, it is a collection of people who are either buying into it and maintaining it the way it is, or people who are stepping up and saying, how can I change it? How can I make it better? So
But we have to be voiceful. And I think that's the part back to the person's question is you have to bring it to the light, meaning we have to host the conversation and start the conversation and then just go from there. Because I mean, perception is perception depending on who's perceiving it. So it's just really starting that conversation and being comfortable with yourself and with having that conversation with others. And again, being human and knowing that, you know, it's okay. It's okay to have indifferences, or it's okay to go against their normal when you know it's not normal. And it's easier just to go along than stand up. And honestly, it's easier just to go along than stand up and say, hey, this is wrong.
Crystal is a very powerful voice and taker of action. So enlightening to listen to her share. Thank you. That is
Thank you
from
guys. I
Sally.
appreciate you. And I love everyone. When I speak, I'm not speaking from color, this, that, sex. It's just in some areas, it affects those labels. But I love everybody. I am part of this one solution. I want to be a part of the solution. I know that my children are going to be a part of the solution because there is a solution to all of this. And it starts with a discussion with an open mind and really just trying to have a clear, tune in. I always say tune in. So even though a wave is coming, it won't affect you if you just catch it and just ride it and connect with it. So that's how I do. I used to let waves just get the best of me. Now I just surf ride them.
You're a pro surfer.
Awesome.
I love it.
Pro surfer.
So cool.
That's awesome.
Big hugs from people.
Feeling the love, really.
And we love you guys. We love you. I think one love really sums up what I'm saying, just knowing the oneness that we all might have different issues, but we're one and you're not alone. And someone is maybe experiencing the same thing that you are and they just haven't talked about it. Let it be on any level. Just know that you're not alone in this journey and your thoughts aren't even alone, because there are other people out here that share some type of connection with how you're feeling and what you're going through and can always add to that. So we love you guys. We love you
That's
so
awesome.
much. Can't wait to give you a hug when this crap is over.
Yes.
Love from the Netherlands.
Yeah,
Very inspirational. Okay, Patrick, how are you feeling about a song? This feels like music time. I feel music coming up. Yeah?
Yeah, we could
What
go.
song you gonna do?
Yes. Okay. Which one are you gonna do?
I'm gonna do Free P.
Okay.
I'm gonna just do an acapella.
Okay.
And did you say free?
Free
P. Does this mean like free Patrick or something else?
Yeah, that's me, like just being free from my old self. It's just Free P, like realize everything that I was and wasn't. So Free P.
Free P. Okay.
Inspiration, dedication, focused on my cadence. Money, fragrance, no complaining. It's the reawaken. MJ how I faded, chop shit jaded. Now your people planking, hard to master patience in the basement when your pockets aching. Where you from, lil' bro? The hood, where they never make it. From what if you born without it, then you gotta take it. No resources, they don't want to see my people make it. Got us in the matrix, paper racing just to barely make it. Like what you talking about, straight from Section 8 so I could give you the whole rundown. Then no one make my play, can't take no breaks unless you won out. Kids killing kids, really need to put them drums down. Straight from Chicago, where people never take a chance to carry them kids in Heartgrove, then wonder why we crazy, then wonder why we lazy. The truth is why they hate me, but still can never change me. They know just what I'm talking about, I said it, then I walked it out. Just want to see our coffins out, but I know how to calm it down. It's only one solution, and I prove it every time I'm out. It's one I never less, they gonna contest, don't try to talk me down.
That is so cool.
Man.
That is beautiful.
Big applause. Truth.
Big applause.
So cool. Woohoo. Awesome.
So beautiful.
Hell yes.
Can we get one more? Or am I getting greedy? One more.
I love this moment
cool.
we're in, you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. This is exactly where we wanted to do this today.
That's so good.
Y'all
Awesome.
really want me to do one more? You can do
We
it.
can, yeah.
Come on. Trying to think, what should I give? I'm gonna do this one. I think about you too often. I waited for you to blossom, keep me going like tomorrow, but I'm still here regardless. Your boy is clear, sparkling water. There's no begging my pardon. I put my life here on the line while you live yours in a coffin. It's more, not never less for me, so there's no need for the bargain. My words are spoken clear as ice, so there's no begging my pardon. Chase your dreams, lay your team, never change for the guala. LAO, SOS, I never had to testify, but always solving the problem. Hate me now, but they gonna love me at the end of the day. I had to fall, I had to learn from all my petty mistakes. Most of the high collecting chips, make a few flips, then throw the rest in the safe. I'm standing tall, a few withdrawals, and then it's back out of state. Come through the hood so you can see the trials and struggles we face. No, all is well, always prevail, can't get enough on my plate. But when I step in my way, it's LAO to my wake.
Ooh.
I love you so much, Patrick.
Goosebumps, people are saying.
Oh yeah,
Thank
people
you.
are finding you on Facebook. I found
Alright.
Prince Jamar. They want to say thank you to both
Yeah.
of you on
Follow-
And
Facebook.
we thank you and we love you
Much
all.
love.
Nothing but peace, love, and blessings to everyone in this moment. Even though it may look like something, know that it's not always what it seems. And we can turn uncertainty into prosperity through how we think and self-check our thoughts. I'll just share this. In the morning time when I get up, I give myself about 15 minutes and I say, look, this is what today is going to look like. Today's not going to dictate me. I'm going to dictate today. And I carry that thought, and sometimes I remind myself of that. But it's just setting that boundary and setting that tone for the day, because we come against so much daily, let alone it be just being ourselves. Sometimes we'll get in the way of ourselves. But I believe that when you set the tone and allow that to, and remind yourself of the tone that you set throughout whatever it is you're going through, it's really an amazing, forever lasting thought.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. We love you
You
guys.
guys are such
Thank
an
you so
inspiration.
much.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Ah, beautiful.
Love
We
you
hope
guys.
you'll
All right.
stick around with us. Oh yeah, I'm part of the solution. I love it.
All right.
Beautiful.
All right. We're gonna see
So
if we
cool.
can.
All right, so
stop the video there.
is Anna on?
Well, let me see if she's.
I
On.
think we might have a little bit of time before she joins, but I'm just
Yeah.
going to message her.
I actually texted her.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for being with us with those two guys. They're amazing, huh?
Yeah, you can see why we love hanging out with them.
You don't talk with them and you feel like you get low energy after it. You know, like I'm so down after talking with Crystal and Patrick. You know, it's always like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
let's change the world.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, I really do. And I've gotten so much hope and inspiration and new ideas about how anything really can change, like school systems and racial divide and persistent violence and things from hanging out with people like Dejan and Patrick and Crystal and Max, and just seeing how different humans can realize that we think that there's like a world and a way things have to be, but all it takes is the individual waking up to like, oh no, that's only that way because that's how people have made it
Or
so
we made up
far.
that
We
so
made it
far.
that way. And there's this incredible thing that just happens when people start looking inside to change the world instead of looking outside. And that just like gives me goosebumps every time.
Yeah. All right, let's see if there's any questions while we wait for the next guest. Any questions, guys, please put them in the chat if you're on Zoom, or in the chat if you're on Facebook. Let's see if there's any comments. JJ says, Bob Patrick, lovely creations, awesome Prince. Okay, people are just loving it. Each one teach one. Yeah.
I actually wouldn't
That's
mind.
good. This question.
Oh wow, Simon's listening from Pakistan. That's
Ooh,
so cool.
Simon.
Nice to see you. See you, hear you,
See you.
read you.
Simon from the first One Solution Conference.
Yeah, he's working in Pakistan now. So
Should answer this one.
yeah, well, that's what I keep trying to answer about how do we know that these responses
right, I
change
get
the
it.
system? But then he wrote again, and I would respond to this, that does history not show us that injustices persist despite many peaceful and enlightened responses?
Hmm.
I feel like that's a good example of kind of your mind as a flashlight. So if I'm looking at all the injustices that still exist, I would say yes to what you just said. I would say
They still exist.
it's so sad. Like there have been all of these amazing people throughout history that have worked tirelessly to heal injustices in the world. And look how much is still left, and it's like, if that's what your mind sees, you will find tons of it. You will find endless layers of problems that still exist in the world. And it'll feel like, what the heck, man? um, but I know for me, I can be in that mindset some days. It's like, why are we even trying? Is anything ever changing? And I can see something horrible that's happening in the world and just get so overwhelmed by it that I just want to give up. Like Adic and I watched that documentary, Dark Waters,
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago about um,
Teflon
and the chemicals that I believe it was Dow knowingly was sort of putting on everyone's cookware. And that it was for the people who worked in the factories that created those products and the people who lived near the factories that created those products, they were getting poisoned by the exposure to these toxic chemicals. And, I have my own moments where I kind of curl up in a traumatized ball after that and just feel really bad about the world. And I think, how messed up is it? And are we ever going to get better? But for me, it's been very critical, especially in order to do the work that we're doing, but also to just be a human being who lives in some semblance of well-being, is to see that that is a totally appropriate and normal and empathetic response. But it does not need to become a permanent state or a permanent perspective on the world. And if it does, that is all I will see. I will literally have hunting eyeballs that will be looking for the injustices, be looking for the greed and the environmental destruction and the social injustice. And that will be all I will see. And I will get overwhelmed and I will get paralyzed. And therefore, I cannot participate in a helpful way. But that same flashlight can see infinite things. Our mind can see infinite things. And so when I'm in a different state of mind and my light is shining on the fact that those very people you mentioned throughout history have done incredible things that have changed the trajectory of society, and that we are reaping the benefits of what those people were able to do. So people like Martin Luther King have made, people like Nelson Mandela, and thousands, millions of
People you
countless
don't
people
hear the
we've
name of.
never heard of
Yeah.
that are doing things behind the scenes that have chipped away at the injustice. And I can assure you that we are living with enormous benefits, some of which we see, some of which we don't even see and appreciate because they're just they've become normal to us now. So everything from advancements in gender equality, racial equality, do we still have a long way to go? Absolutely. Have we made progress? I would argue absolutely. And that the actions of those individuals, like the crystals, like people who say, hey, this doesn't have to be normal, they stand up and take action, and then something does change. Like I said, sometimes you see it in really big, obvious ways, like the civil rights movement. But sometimes it's in silent ways where you would never know. You wouldn't know that a crystal existed and that she had that interaction between the police and her son. And we don't even know how that's rippled out and changed those police officers and how they might behave differently because of that experience with
Who they
Crystal
might
and her
talk
son.
to, or they might go.
They might second guess a thing that would have seemed normal to them before. And yeah, I just think it's one of those things where you got to pause and go, well, am I focusing on the ways in which it's staying bad and that's all I see? Or am I open? And I'm not at all pie in the sky. Like, I'm not saying, oh, things are going wonderfully and humanity is evolving perfectly. I assume I don't know because I'm only in my own flashlight. I'm only Mara living Mara's life and able to see my own piece of it. But I do know as a human that my flashlight can move. And when it moves, I see more possibility. I see more positivity. I can also see the negativity. And as Crystal said, I can either let that wave crash over me and shut me down and shut me up, or I can see it and see my own potential for that to wake me up, to want to be a participant and say, well, what could I do to make this not the norm? If I see a better way, why don't I do something about that? Because if it's not me, it's going to stay the same. It's got to be the people who have the ideas that stand up and believe in the possibility of change to go out and do it. So I'm hugely grateful for the people throughout history who've done that. And yes, I'd say we need a hell of a lot more of them, but that person could be you, it could be me, and it could be millions of people around the world who are making small but beautiful changes that are changing society, and we just don't know about it, or we don't hear about them. Yeah.
There
People
we
like
go.
Dejan,
People like Dejan,
Patrick, Crystal, and Max.
Yep,
Yep.
exactly. All right, let's see if we can find Anna here.
Is she on?
She says. Hmm. Why can't
Maybe
we
is she
see
on
here?
Facebook or Zoom?
She says she's on Zoom. On Zoom.
Okay, I'm going to take another question that came in.
Yes, while I figure this out.
Yeah, so someone says, and maybe you could talk about the kind of numbness that some people are feeling. I'm not angry or frustrated or sad necessarily, but kind of a feeling of being suspended in time and space. How do you connect back into the essence from that space? And I think this is a really beautiful example of what I think Max was pointing to before, is it's very easy to confuse being in the essence with something outside of ourselves, like needing to go hiking in Nepal or needing to go to work and feel productive because that's a part of our identity. What we say is what we're up to in the world. And when those things get taken from us, we can feel a little like flat. But I think, you know, what I heard and what Max said and what everyone has been pointing to in different ways is life is invariably going to show us in a million different ways that the essence is an ever-present life force that's coursing through us, through our souls, through our veins. And that's the only place it ever came from. It's the only place it can ever come from, is a feeling from the life force. So if we're feeling a certain flatness, there's a way in which our mind, while it's subtle, it's not that like loud noise like anger and frustration or depression can be. It's a little bit more like, well, I don't know what to do, or what could I, like it's almost just like a sneakier noise, a subtler noise, but it's still just our own ideas that the essence of life is somehow coming from anything other than just life. And I'm going to try, I might fail miserably, but I want to connect that to kind of what we were talking about a second ago. And that guy's question is, I think it's impossible for the human inside their own internal world to necessarily appreciate how we are all interconnected. That's not something that is dependent upon being physically connected, going to restaurants together, going to school together. While I do love those things and think they're very important and want to continue them, I've learned a lot, especially recently, about the fact that essence is really just the life force, and it's something that we are all connected to and therefore connected to collectively. So we are all together. We are all feeling each other. That's not something that only happens when we go to a birthday party in person. It's something that we can kind of tap into, because I think as people's minds quiet down and they feel more connected to that essence, more connected to that deep peace of mind that's internal, every human I've ever talked with who's accessed that space has felt more connected to humanity overall. And that's where I think we have an influence that maybe we don't appreciate or that we don't see clearly enough. So I believe, and I could be crazy, and I'm okay with that. This is just my opinion. But I believe that just people feeling more at peace and connected in their own essence would start to dissolve some of the injustices in our systems. I know that sounds weird, but it's like that has to come first anyway. The action is an echo of the feeling people are living in. The systems we set up are an echo of the feeling people are living in. So as people get more comfortable just inside themselves, nothing to do with any physical action happening out here, any activity, any connection point, just resonating deep inside their own consciousness, their own soul, their own awareness in a more peaceful place is going to make all the shit out here look different, in my opinion.
Boom. Drop the mic. Can you drop the mic?
I can't, it's heavy.
Yeah. As I was saying. I was too sure you should. Don't mess up with the mics. I'm just kidding. All right, we got Anna here. We should try to put her on, see if we can make this work. Boom. All right, let's see if she shows up. Good. Okay. Show the video. We got Anna. Make co-host. Yep. All right.
Hey.
Hey,
Hey. There she is.
hey,
There
hi.
we go.
So nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Did you have a nice morning on the beach? I think you're at the beach, right?
Yeah, it's actually pouring with rain, so
Oh.
we had a very windy time on the beach. But
Well, thanks so
Yeah.
much. You're our last guest. It's been a long little marathon now.
really,
Yeah. It's been awesome though. And I'm really
We're
excited
so
to
excited for you to finish with you.
finish off with you. Yeah.
well, it's nice
So-
to be here.
So for people who don't know Anna, let's do a little introduction, and then maybe you could do a little introduction of yourself. Talk about yourself a little bit, but so Anna, we've known for quite a while. She is Anna, because she's a straight talker, and she's real, and she's full of love, and she does amazing work. And her organization, that's called the Inside Alliance, works primarily in the criminal justice system, working in prison, male prison, women's prison, and juvenile. And one solution is partnering with the Inside Alliance. And we love every time we talk to her. So we share a lot of projects. So one of the things, for example, we did this week was that Dejan and Patrick, who you heard, had a conversation with some of the youth that Anna was working on via Zoom. So in this situation with Corona, none of us are able to meet people in person, but that actually allowed us to open the door to Zoom, and we can connect in a way that we probably couldn't if Corona wasn't there. And we can create conversation between people who wouldn't ordinarily actually talk together. So
Yeah. And I think Anna is another beautiful example of the same point that we were talking about just prior to her jumping on is the criminal justice system is a system that a lot of people would argue is broken and needs fixing. But I am infinitely hopeful every time I talk with Anna and talk with the people that she has been working with. And we had the beautiful opportunity to go last January to sit in with Anna and teach some of the classes with her in the jail. And you see the kind of change that's happening in people, and it becomes so clear that this is where the seeds of systemic change start. And she can give a lot of really cool examples about that, but everything from, people who are not only changing the trajectory of their own life by tapping into their own resilience and their potential like everyone on this call has talked about, to think differently and steer their life in a different direction. But also then that when people feel better, they have really brilliant ideas about how to improve the systems that they have been affected by. So one of the women in the women's prison that Anna works in suddenly had the really brave, obvious, but brilliant idea that it's unfair that in the men's prison, they get access to education, classes, college courses, things like that. And in the women's prison, nothing like that is offered. And she said, well, that's messed up and I want to change that. And so, Anna, you should tell the story, but I think for those who are having trouble seeing the link between an individual tapping into their own resilience and new ideas, how does that change a system? Well, the people that Anna worked with are a beautiful demonstration of that.
Hi. I can only see you, so I'm kind of, anyway.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. Sorry, I wasn't. We actually just had another group. We had a new group with of the youth as well, and I thought it was just going to be a couple of guys from a unit, but they brought a whole slew of new people. So we just started a new group, and actually one of them said, where's Patrick and Dejan? I want to talk to them. So the word is out. The word is out. They're on a different unit. So I said, if they're free next Saturday, then in the morning, then they should come and hang out with us.
Cool.
So that is one of the good things actually about this, is that we are able to do Zoom with the youth, and unfortunately not with the men and the women, but we can with the youth, and it's been really fun. So you know, it's a great opportunity. But yeah, so did you want me to introduce a little bit about where I started this, or what do you want me to talk about?
Well, maybe we can talk about what you started, but I think most of all, kind of like both for yourself and what you've seen in working with people. You know, you've yourself been in so many different challenging situations that you've been challenged with yourself, or that you've had with people you work with. So maybe share a little bit in general of what you think about that resilience and how you feel anyone can change. Because I know when people in the prisons kind of talk to you, they feel like, oh, things can change. Kind of like Dejan's prisons are like, oh, I can change, things can change. That hope of, it's unknown, I'm stuck, but now I feel like I can change. Like, can you speak to that at all?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that I love working in the criminal justice system, is when I first started working in prison in England, I could maybe have an idea that, yeah, some people can change, but some people maybe can't. You know, that there's, well, I can change because I got to do this, or because I had this much therapy, or I had this much, you know, kind of, I don't know what. But then working with people and pointing them, you know, back to their own kind of resilience and back to their own health, you realize that everybody can wake up to their true nature, that there's no one that's left out. And sometimes, you know, and I think, you know, it's actually almost easier working with people in prison than working, maybe, I don't know, I'm making this up, but than other people who, because people in prison, they once you point to the fact that you know, that they've got through every worst situation they've ever got through, and they can figure it out, and they can bounce back, and they have the ability to kind of you know, get through anything, and they have the resilience, that they kind of go, oh yeah, that's true, like that's true, and I can see that, and I have that. But also that when you point to the inside out nature of life, that they realize that they can have really good days in prison too, that it doesn't depend on the four walls and the barbed wire fences and everything else that's in front of them. They start to recognize, oh yeah, that's true. Like my surroundings has nothing to do with the love and peace I feel inside sometimes, you know. And I think sometimes I got into, well, everything has to look a certain way on the outside for me to be okay. And so I really enjoyed the opportunity when I first started working in prison, that people really start seeing this kind of easy, you know, not always, but there was an ease sometimes for people to start seeing their resilience, because it just shows up all the time, because they have, you know, had maybe shitty childhoods, or they've had trauma, or they've had problems growing up, and then now they're in the adult prison, or even if they're in the youth prison, there's a lot of things that they've had to overcome that maybe I could look at before and go, oh God, I don't think I could get through that, or oh, you know, that's really hard. But when you're in it, you get through it, and you go, wow, actually that's true. But you know, they can still have the ideas or the thoughts that I'm broken, there's something wrong with me, and you know, I need fixing. And when you know, point people just to the resilience that they have, that they've always had, and it's never gone anywhere, that there's a part of them inside them that can't be broken, that can't be touched by anything that's happened in their life, and they see that it's there, then, like you were just saying about Dejan, and you don't believe everything you think is true, then there's a whole world that opens up inside, because they start to go, oh yeah, no, you're right, I feel that, like I feel I feel you know, I get moments of peace, or I feel, you know, my resilience, I can feel that I can get through anything, like I know I'm strong, I know I can count on it, I know I can absolutely count on the fact that I'll get through anything. And you know, and to a lot of people, you know, in prison, they see that as God, they see it as their spiritual, and then there's a lot, you know, a lot of people in who I work with who have a strong spiritual kind of faith, I guess, in a way that they're okay. But the missing link of that is recognizing how thought's involved in this whole experience, and they start seeing that if when they understand the thought created nature of life, and they don't believe all those stories that they're told that they're broken and they're beyond fixing and they're in prison because they can't, they're just sort of thrown away, and they start to see that's not true, then they come to life in a whole different way, and they have new ideas, like Millard did about the women's education system, where yeah, there's 13 prisons in Oregon and all the men get higher education and the women's prison doesn't. And before that, she said, I never would have been able to believe that I could have made change. I just didn't think it was possible. Who am I to do anything? But once she started to not believe everything she thought, and she started to live more from a place of like, I've got everything I need inside myself, and therefore like I'm not getting caught up in all the bullshit, and she had more space inside to have a new idea about what she can do. She got in touch with the senator, and she got in touch with this. Now before it'd be like, oh no, I couldn't do that, oh god, no, I couldn't do that, oh I shouldn't be able to, I can't. So the things that hold you back is just a thought that says you can't do something, and she's like, you know, she's sort of batting them out of the way, going, well that's not true, well that's not true. And then she had the senator that come in, and now they've got, you know, PSU classes, and they've got all sorts of things. There's so many examples of where if you don't believe the thought that's telling you can't do something because it's not, you see that's for what it is, then you can do anything. And so even when you're involved, even when you're in the criminal justice system, you know, the amount of change that can happen. So there's a group of adults who have been through the youth system, who you know, were on Measure 11, which means that they got mandatory minimum sentences and got tried as adults, even though they were youth, because they saw the crime as bad enough or whatever. Now, it's because of them in the adult system that put a new bill in place in the Oregon legislature that basically said that youth can't be, and girls, youth can't be treated as adults and can't have Measure 11. Which is huge. Now, they weren't even doing it for themselves because it's not retroactive, meaning that they can't get reduced sentences for the 30, 40 years that they're in prison, having been tried as a 15-year-old and got an adult sentence. But they're doing it because they've changed the trajectory of all, you know, the youth. So when you think that a few people can't do, you know, something that's massive, even from a prison cell, when they have freedom of mind to kind of know that they want to make change for other people, that they feel the love and compassion to do something that's going to be really helpful, then change can happen anywhere. It doesn't take you being in a certain place or a certain situation to have a positive impact in anything, but also to kind of come from a place of love and compassion to want to do something right for the next person, even if it's not going to affect you. So there's, you know, there's those stories of I could keep just rattling on. So if there's anything that I'm not, I'll shut up in case someone wants to.
No, keep talking. We love it. We love every
okay.
word. That's really, really.
Well, and I think what you're saying there is I found that this was something that I discovered by working with people and watching exactly like you described, the things that they thought they had to think fall away, and that when that falls away, they drop into a space of greater peace of mind, a deeper understanding of their own resilience. But also, this is what I kind of discovered by accident, is that fact that we're all the same energy, that we're all the same love, when becomes clear. So people start doing things that are a little bit head scratchingly kind. Like what you said, it's like, wait, you're going to put your
Selfless.
hard work and energy and time into making sure that other people, other young people don't get these huge adult sentences of no benefit to you. That's interesting to me. Like, and it's coming from, you know, maybe kids that you would have thought would never, you know, have done something like that in the past. But I know I've seen it over and over again, that when people feel better inside themselves, they become more connected to humanity with a capital H. It's not just that they can improve the trajectory of their lives, it's that they can see and want to be more helpful to the whole because they feel more connected to the whole. And that's really intriguing to me. And I know you've seen a lot of that, Anna. Like, you don't teach people to be more compassionate or loving. It's just a byproduct. It's a natural fallout of them getting more quiet and comfortable and resilient within themselves.
Yeah, it's you know, there's one of the guys on a call, one of the youth just now was I was asking them, you know, how they were doing with all this stuff, because they, you know, when we talk about lockdown, we talk about, you know, PTSD or whatever you said from sitting on your sofa. Was that you? Was it, am I just dreaming that? I don't know where that came from, but you know, these guys have lost, you know, I mean, just the ones that we've spoken to, they're not allowed off their unit, you know, and they got off their unit just for our group, and they've been brought into this other kind of space, and just asking, you know, hey, so how are you doing? And this is some of the people that we've known, we've worked with, and he's like, I'm good. Like, you know, there's people fighting and there's so much crazy stuff going on, which is why we wanted to bring the guys here today. They brought a handful of guys who are really struggling because, you know, you're stuck on a unit full of youth and there's lots more fights and lots more problems. The guys that have been through our program, which is why our program is allowed to, you know, special, you know, they're making an effort to have our program available because they see how helpful it is. The people that have been through the program aren't getting in fights. They're being kinder. They're listening to people. They're trying to be helpful. They're, you know, Brett was like, I'm good. I'm good no matter what. Like, I know that everyone's just doing the best they can with the state of mind they have. Like, and I just, you know, so I wanted to bring everybody here because I want them to feel like me. I want them to feel better, because people, when it looks like everybody else is annoying the shit out of you and you have to, you know, beat them up to feel better, and you're in a whole dormitory full of that going on 24 hours a day, it can seem like the dormitory or the unit is making you crazy. Now, I know that's not true, and I'm good. Like, I'm good. You know, he's just like, I'm good. You know, I'm this, you know, my well-being is intact. Like, there's nothing. But I want other people to see this. I want other people to be okay, because I know that everyone can feel like I do. So, you know, once all the you know, the noise starts to kind of fall away, and then our natural, you know, peace of mind comes to the surface, well, then that's love and compassion and understanding. And then it's just, it makes sense that you want other people to feel better because you feel better. And so then in other situations where he would have wanted to fight, when he first came to our group, he now wants other people to feel better, and he's now helping out, and he's now, you know, bringing people when they have no idea what the group's about. Just like, just come, you've got to come, you know. So I didn't know how many people were going to be there, and we had a group, you know. So I think that's our natural, you know, what when all the noise falls away, then our natural you know, kind of well-being, peace of mind, clarity, love, compassion, wanting to help others, it sort of comes to the surface. And so, you know, when we have people come into prison who have an idea about what people in prison are like, and then they come in and they just see like a room full of real people who are full of love, full of understanding, full of compassion, caring, funny, that it's almost unfathomable, because they think that they've got such a story about, well, they did this thing and that put them in prison. It's like, yeah, well, you know, if I had been maybe in that situation and been faced with the same thing, maybe I would have done the same thing. Like, who knows? But we're all just doing the best we can with what we have in the moment. And you know, there's a lot of you know, misfortune, and there's a lot of things that go on in the world that cause people to do certain things, but they're just, you know, acting out of a troubled mind. But when they understand their own mind and they you know, feel love and understanding, it doesn't occur to them to do anything like that. And then you see everything else falls away, and you see that they're really real, really cool, beautiful people that then make change in the systems that they're a part of. Like, one person can make change in a system that they're a part of, and it will change everything. It changes the law. And that's where you realize that, oh no, you know, the system has to, I can't do anything. Yes, you can do loads of things. Like, you know, getting into the prison system, when I came to Portland, it was like, I had no contacts in prison. I had no idea how to get into prison, but I knew I wanted to do it. And so you just have conversations with nothing on it. I didn't have anything on the outcome. I didn't think it meant something when someone said no, or they didn't know what I was talking about. I just don't believe the thinking that says that I can't do it. And therefore you just show up and you just have a conversation. At some point, someone's going to say yes, because someone sees something. Now, it didn't take that long. But then it expands into other prisons, because you're touching something that's true for every human being. You're touching something that's alive in everybody. And so, and I mentioned I don't even know what a cheer pet is, but, you know, one of the guys says, you know, this is like a cheer pet for the soul. You know, it's like you're pouring a little bit of water on something and it starts to expand. And it's like all you do. That's why this is the easiest job in the world. You're just like pouring a little bit of water onto something, and it just kind of starts to expand. And it's like a cheer pet, I guess, but for the soul. But you know, it's not hard, and because it's connecting with something that's already there. When you're talking to the officers, or you're talking to the staff members, you know, who get us in the first place, they're like, oh my god, I need this. Like, you know, there's one staff member in the women's prison, she's like, at some point I'm going to give up my job and I want to come and work for you, you know, because she sees the benefit of what's happening. And it's like, I'm not doing a thing. I just, you know, get out of my own way, and you just, it's just doing itself. It literally does itself. So it's the easiest thing in the world, to kind of just point people back to their own health, because it's like, it's already in there and they see it and they're like, oh yeah, I'm good. It's like, sweet. And then they start.
Sweet.
It's nothing. But I mean, you know, we do it anyway. It's just, yeah. So I feel like it's fun. It's really fun, and I love people waking up to who they are, because when you see people who felt like they've been broken and they're no good, and they're, you know, their whole life, then you and they start to recognize that they're okay and there's nothing wrong with them. It's like the best thing in the world, and that makes me cry.
It is the best thing in the world.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see the comments, but people are saying, Anna, you are the best.
Well, that's Antra. I just saw that, actually. That's the one thing, because I know that. So Antra actually comes into prison with us. She's one of our volunteer teachers, and she's going to be teaching. So yeah, she's cool. She started coming into the women's prison this last 10-week program, which we just didn't get to graduate because we just got kicked out just before it happened. So but yeah, she's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Anna? You can write it in the chat box, both on Facebook and on Zoom. On Facebook, say thank you so much. This has been so helpful. Yes, a change of perspective changes everything. So
you, Anna. We
Need
need
this
this
in the UK prison, prisons of the world. It's happening in the UK. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there is a program called Beyond Recovery
Mhm.
that
it's where I first started.
Anna first. Yeah, you could say a little bit about that if you want.
Yeah. So Beyond Recovery was started by Jacqueline Hollows, who about 5 or 6 years ago now, when we were at One Thought Institute, which is where I met Mara, was given an opportunity to kind of do a research project in a UK prison to see about how this, helps with violence and depression and anxiety and various different things. And so when we were in groups, she needed a volunteer, so my hand shot up. I didn't feel like it had anything to do with me, it just kind of like on its own volition. And so then I got the opportunity to work with Jacqueline when she first started in the women in Onley, and now they're in all sorts of different prisons. So it's definitely happening in England. And Google Beyond Recovery, Jacqueline Hollows, and you'll find, or get in touch with one of us, and we can put you in touch with her, because there's some good work going on in the UK prisons for sure.
Yeah, we saw her on a live earlier. So
Okay.
shout out to Jacqueline.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
Kristen, if you can't find all of what she just said, sorry. If you can't find what Anna just said, just shoot us a message and we can share with you. Cool. He found it. Sounds like.
Okay, she found it. Great. Awesome. Great. Any other questions for Anna?
Anna, I would just be. Oh,
Guys,
Oh.
can you
I got
talk?
overridden.
Yeah, you
by
totally
Antra.
did, didn't you?
People on the lab is more important here.
I get to
That's
talk
not
to
true.
Anna
That's
whenever
not true. Don't you think that?
Thank you, Anna.
Just in this setting. After this, you're the most important.
You're the best. Yeah.
How do you get in touch with Anna? So what's the website? The Insight Alliance?
The insightalliance.org.
.org.
ORG.
Insightalliance.org. And your email is?
Anna at theinsightalliance.org.
Right.
People are asking, how young is the age when you say you're working with young people?
Well, there's, high school. So there's the youth, the youngest youth in prison is 12, which I know is absolutely awful, but that's what it is. But we're actually starting to work with the younger age group. There's actually a high school in prison, and so we're talking with the head of the school that's in the prison to kind of do then work with the younger age group, because they go to school during the day. Most of the guys that we've been working with have kind of finished school, so they're 17, 18, 19, whatever. But we are getting, because of the times now we're doing it, we're getting a few more of the younger guys. But hopefully then we can actually teach our curriculum to the staff in the school, in the prison school, and then they'll be able to get credits for this, which would be brilliant. So that's the age.
Great. And then can you talk more about what you're doing with the coronavirus keeping us in? You mentioned
it's actually been we've had some, we've stopped going in. Obviously we can do the Zoom with the youth. We started a newsletter, so we've created a newsletter which basically has all sorts of different things on it, and you can find it on our website. It's called Moments of Insight. It's actually under one of our programs, with its programs, and it says Moments of Insight. And the third one's just gone to print. So basically, we've been given permission to be able to for people in prison to write us back and to give us contributions of art and poetry or things that they've written. And then we've put different things in it that hopefully will be helpful, different things that people have written from this community. And then some good poetry, and there's all just a positive way that then I write a letter at the beginning of it too, just to just everyone knows that we're thinking about them, and then there's a way to stay connected, and then they can kind of it's interactive. And we've also been doing a webinar series, which both of you have been on, and we've had some really great conversations with people. And originally it was so we could put that on our website, so the people that we have worked with in prison that are now out, that maybe can't come to our Zoom calls, which we have on Monday and Tuesday evening, that they can just click on them and kind of hear some wisdom and some kind of really positive stuff. But I had the idea to ask the prisons if we could put it on prison TV, because they're stuck in their cells and they have, you know, some channels where, well, there's one channel which we're in the women's prison anyway, which is great because there's only one women's prison and it's huge. So we're getting all these webinars onto the women's prison TV. We're seeing the youth, and so they're going to be able to watch the videos, and the men's prisons we're not sure yet because they've just added another film channel, and so we're competing with another film channel, so I'm not sure if that's going to be happening. And also, this was actually Barb's idea, and I didn't do it for the longest time because I was a little bit scared, but to do a resiliency course with this officers and staff in prison because of the anxiety and stuff they're feeling. And I wrote to the DOC, who I actually know this woman in the DOC, to say, hey, we just had this idea about, you know, doing a resiliency training for the officers and the staff. And so then she said, yes, that would be great. And it's like, oh shit. So now I've got to do I've got to like create, I've got to create these videos that, you know, we're going to do a video series, but we're actually going to do an animated video series, because then I haven't got to be on the video. We can use animation, which sounds far better. So we're now working out how to do animation. And so we can do a video series.
This is such a cool example of how, you know, you're like, oh, pandemic that doesn't let me come in. No problem. I will just record some stuff and then put it on. You okay there? Yeah. And then put it on prison TV. Like, that is so creative. You know, like you saw that, well, as opposed to just putting it on our website, I could put it on the one thing I know they get access to, which is the TV in the prison. I mean, I just think you're such a great example of like, you really don't see obstacles, or you see them, but it takes about 5 seconds for you to go, okay, how do I jump over that and do something else instead? And I just love that. Like, oh, let me reach out to the Department of Corrections, which a lot of people would just stop right there. Like, it's so crazy when we hear you talk about it, because it's obviously so easy to you. You just do it. But there are so many people that have made up thoughts in their head that go, well, I don't know how to get that done, or I don't know anyone at Department of Corrections, or how do I reach out to that? But like, you always find a way. Sorry about the video. Ran out of batteries on the camera, so it just came back. But you could hear me, right?
Yeah, we could.
Yeah. So I just love listening to you, because I think it becomes so evident that, like, you know, to put it bluntly, like, this shit doesn't have to be complicated. It's just, you have the idea, and if you see barriers, your mind goes, okay, well, what else could I do? How could I do it differently? How could I make it work? And I just love that. And I'll also share that, you know, you have lots of ideas and not all of them work. Like, Anna and I chatted at the end of the webinar, the recording that we made. And I was saying, you know, the guys that you work with in prison should be giving all of us tips on how to survive living in quarantine, because they're pros at it. And to Anna's point, a lot of them have an amazing, amazing attitude about it. Like that guy she described, it's like, look, my well-being's intact. I'm good. And he's in a much worse situation than most of the people who are, you know, not in prison and are just freaking out about the restrictions they're facing for the first time.
Yeah.
And Anna was like, oh yeah, that's an interesting idea. And when I followed up with you about it yesterday when we chatted, you were like, oh yeah, I've shopped that around a few places. I haven't gotten a yes yet. And it's like, cool. Well,
you know, but we have got a yes with those. We are interviewing a bunch of people that have got out, and so we're gonna then interview them, because, you know, we've had people that have, you know, like Michael, for example, who's in prison for 20 years, or, you know, people in solitary confinement for 1.5 years. And you think solitary confinement, you're talking about being in a room like your bathroom with no window for 23 hours a day with half an hour out, and you got nothing. And it's like, it's so different from what, you know. And at the moment, you know, the thing too that makes it, I think, you know, I think we'll get the youth, because if we can video, like when we do the Zoom calls, I've been told that we can't video them because of, you know, whatever. But I think if we can, once they see what we're doing, because what we were going to do was video one for the superintendent, so he saw, you know, that Dejan and Patrick talking to the guys, and they can see the benefit of it. But then if we get permission, then we could interview some of the youth that have gone through our program, and like Brett, for example, or like these guys that that are just then they can be sitting there. So I think we'll be able to make it. They just get lazy. The DOC staff so they don't want to have to get a computer into a particular room to get one adult into another room and then have to sit there and supervise a conversation. It's just, to them, it's just like, why would I do that? So but I think we'll get around it. I think we could definitely try it with the youth. It just may take a minute, but we are going to interview people.
Is you're like, it's just going to take a minute, but we'll get there.
We'll figure it
Because
out.
your mind's just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's a problem. All
Yeah,
right,
go through all
let me
this, and
circumvent
this.
that
Yeah.
this way. Let me jump over that this way.
So there was one question about, do we train staff or do we train people?
Yeah, I thought you should speak to what you're already doing and then what we're going to be doing with the
Yeah.
IOS.
So, what we're already doing, we already do train staff. We got some volunteer teachers right now. Some of them have been in prison, and some of them, like Antra, who was just on there a minute ago, is one of our training teachers. We're actually in the middle of creating a more robust prison curriculum with Jacqueline in England and Brooke from Spark and us, to actually, because we realized a way of scaling up is having more, not that, when you share this, it's not about kind of using the curriculum, but it's about having something that kind of has your back, or if you go, oh, how do I share this? How do I teach this? It just kind of offers different classes with different objectives for each class, and then there's some possible activities or exercises and stuff just to help people kind of get more comfortable with sharing. But we are building a curriculum which is kind of happening and doing so we're going to be using that with the people that we train. So I do that with Barb Patterson, because Barb's on our board and she's here and she helps me with the teacher training, because I don't know so much about training trainers. I can just share this with people in prison. So she's been helping with that, but also the IOS Collective, which is, of course, us, One Solution, and Spark, creating an institute where we're going to be having run a program that then is going to actually have about community change and systemic change, but more based in that. So we're going to get people can have live experience. So they can come into the prisons, they can come into schools, they can do work, they can be in the community and actually have a training, or be learning this at the same time as getting real life experience. Because for me, there was nothing like being in a classroom in prison, and then that was where my real learning came. So I just think the benefit of actually learning on the job in the community, not that's more about community change within the places that you work, in the prisons that you work in, and then there'll be a curriculum and there'll be online, in-person training. So we're just playing with that. So we're creating that as we speak, pretty much.
One of the
Awesome.
positives of coronavirus for
Yeah,
us
good
is
time
we've
to
been
plan.
talking about doing this together as a collective, and we finally have the space to create it. So we've been working each week on the design of that and are going to be launching it sometime
In the future.
in this year when this is done. Yeah.
Sometime in the future.
And we've also left our minds flexible to, if this pandemic draws on for much longer, we will find a way to adapt it so that we can do it even like this if we have to. But yeah, if you are interested in staying in touch with us about that, just
Send us an email.
you can send us an email to info@onesolutionglobal.org, or you can go on our website, onesolutionglobal.org, and join our newsletter, because we will definitely be letting people know
We'll send it out there.
via the newsletter when that IOS Leadership Institute launches.
Well, I see time is flying.
Yeah, I can't believe we've only got 5 minutes left. Is there anyone who's been sitting on a burning question for Anna or us? Or
No, I would say it would need to be a short one, because Facebook has this weird thing where it deletes it if the video if it gets longer than 4 hours.
Really?
We start at about 10 past, so I just want to make sure we don't go too much over 10.
I didn't know they did that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. So,
All right.
okay.
Great. Just a lot of
I would love to
thank
hear from people
yous
what they
and-
thought about this whole experience. If you liked it, if we did more, would you come? What would you like us to talk about? some feedback will be great, because this is the first time we've done this kind of like 4-hour thing, virtual experience. And if people love it, we might do more for the public. It is part of our Jetpack for Youth. We have 4 of these a year for anyone who's a member there, a supporter there. But we might do more in public. So please let us know if you liked it and what you would like us to do more, and we will do that.
Cute. I'd come back in a hot second. So sweet. Thank you.
Where's
all.
the baby? That's what I want to know.
Oh,
I know.
He's
sleeping
No
napping
with
way.
right
him.
now. He's napping right now.
For these
He's been
past 4 hours?
so-
No,
No,
he
he was
in the
here in the
beginning. We've
beginning.
been
Oh,
feeding
okay. All right.
him.
Sorry. Okay.
He's right
Carry on.
there.
I don't want to
Like-
interrupt. I was like, that's my question. Oh, there he
There
is.
he is.
Baby? What baby? Do we have a baby? Oh shit.
Oh,
Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Thank you so much, Anna, for coming and doing this on a Saturday.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just come off the other call, so it's perfect timing.
Yeah.
And this will continue to live on our Facebook page, the recording of
we'll
the
send it
Facebook
out
Live.
to
And then
everyone.
if you registered for the Zoom with your email, we can also send you the recording of
Yes.
the Zoom as well.
And sorry for the small tech thing. And sorry for people who couldn't fit here. Like, we have probably close to 300 people sign up. So it got full really quick on Zoom. So
We were not expecting
hopefully
that.
you found it on Facebook. And if not, we'll send out a recording.
Somebody asked a question. I don't know if they're serious or joking, but they said, what is your one thought that always seems to change everything?
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, my
That's a
book
funny
title was
joke.
One Thought Changes Everything. And it wasn't a particular thought. It wasn't that there was a
What is
thought that
the
always
one
changed.
that
Just
seems to be
it's just the
changing?
fact that in a moment of a new thought, like you heard so many beautiful examples of today from all of our different
Oh, I'm loving these feedback.
contributors, it's just the fact that when you have a new thought, it can change everything.
Yeah.
You know, so
thought
Dejan's
away.
realization of I can change my life, or that I don't
Fuck
have to
it,
put
what
the
it is.
thought I have into action. You know, or Anna's thought of I don't know how I'm going to get into prisons, but I'm going to figure it out. That sure changed everything in her life. Like,
Or we need all
It's
the
like,
women's
fuck it
prisons
is
to
the
have-
thought.
Yeah,
Fuck it is the
fuck,
thought, yeah.
fuck all these other thoughts. Let's-
Cool. Can we save these chats? We're getting
I
a
really
lot.
wanna
I think
save
it's
'em.
humanly impossible for us to read all of these
I hope it
comments
saves
in
it. I'm going to try
time.
to copy paste.
I don't
it.
think you got to do some. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you all so much
Yeah.
for
Thank
showing
you for
up.
doing it. It was
We
great.
loved it. It did. It somehow
All right.
magically flew by, and we will definitely let you know what we're going to do next. We're going to do something next, that's for sure, and we'll let all of you
Yes.
know. So thank you for being a part of it with us today.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe. Stay healthy.
From all over the world. We really appreciate you.
Yes, love you. Thank you
Man,
so
I'm
much for
loving these.
coming. All right.
All right. Thank you.
God,
Thank
the
you. Thank you. Big
camera's
Ucks.
Just kidding.
Finally.
I know you're still there.
Oh my God.
So what are we going to do now?
All right. We should probably cancel it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm going to end it right now.